All right, we're on. Brothers and sisters, this is for me a great morning. Ever since I had the opportunity to see Brother Ptah Asar, my energy level has risen. We're in a time when we're all concerned and aware that the forces out here, especially forces behind uh, the President Donald Trump and so forth, are doing their best to annihilate African people. At least that's what I believe. And from his actions and the way that white racism is moving through the land um, against us, you can see that. So after I spoke with Brother Ptah, um, I stay on this, social media, trying to see and feel where we are as a people. Because the one thing that I know that we need right now is to know who we are. We need to know our history. There's tremendous power in knowing our history and who we are because we are the chosen. If there is a chosen, then it can't be anybody else but us. We're the first people that the Creator uh, brought here, I should say, evolved from uh, nature, from the one energy that is here. Uh, all forms of life come from that same energy. All of everything comes from that same energy. There's only creation. And so, there's so many sources that are out here that document and prove scientifically that there is but this one energy. So this one energy is the creator, herself, himself. And that is who we are in an expression of that creation, just like Professor Small says that we are uh, God's having a human experience. That is so true. So when you begin to look at our history, you begin to see there is nothing, not anything on planet Earth that African people have not experienced, and they have had to solve all of the issues and uh, the challenges that confront humanity, or humanity would not be here. We've had to figure out how do we survive the animals, some faster and more ferocious. But everything we did, if we had to get across the river where there are alligators or whatever, um, we had to do that. So we developed engineering. We developed everything and understanding of our relationship and our oneness with the universe. But time moves. And all of that has been recorded by our ancestors. And meeting Brother Batar and listening at how he expressed uh, the calendar and what went into the development of the calendar, how it has changed, and how Europeans have tried to take credit for all of the contributions that African people made in bringing civilization into being. So And if you go on social media now, one of the things that I'm so happy about is that all this information is like coming out of the walls so that Black folk um, can get themselves together, understand who they are, and pull out of themselves all of the power that the Creator has manifested in them and that our ancestors in terms of the principles of how the universe operates. So what I'd like to do is bring on Queen Mother Ma'at Tefnut to give us an introduction further of our brother Ptah Asar. Queen Mother, it is my pleasure to be in the studio with you and to share this time. I'd like for you, if you would, to play the introduction that we have prepared so people can know where we're going with this program today. Thank you.
Yes, yes, she will do that in just 1 second. I just like to say we have brought the Queen Mother, our great divine Reverend Mother Asma'at Tefnut, to bring the feminine energy to this broadcast, because I will go nowhere without the feminine energy directing me, because we came from the Mother and we shall return to the Mother when we pass through the galactic plane, through that Milky Way galaxy, that cosmic, invisible, and biblical cord. The Queen Mother Goddess will lead us into the Milky Way galaxy, in which we will expand with the universe as we transition. So the Queen Mother Goddess is here with us, but in traditional African cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality, we must perform our Hesi, our Saku, our affirmation, so that we may have permission to address the Ramech. And Meduneta is the family, the first family of the people. So I shall call upon our great Queen Mother Goddess Asma'at Tefnut to perform her Hesi, her Saku, her affirmation, so that she may command the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of Pandwa matter. May she pronounce the Usa Medu Nefer Hekau, the divine words of power, so that she may address the ancient ones, the ancestors, and the Ptah. So right now we call upon our great Queen Mother Goddess to perform her Hesi or Saku, her affirmation. Dua, 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 Asma'at Tefnut.
Dua, dua usibus. Hete pu. Dua, dua u. Anezarek Ramech. E.M. Hotep. Greetings and divine greatness, divine excellence to the first families, to my Nagas, my Shemsugurus, my Nesubitis, my Mutnatar, my Sebas, my Sibats, my Hamets, the immortal ones of Ma'at, cherished, phenomenon of precession, new age order, great golden age of Ma'at Hapi Asar, and to all citizens, descendants of the Nile Valley Cultural Cosmic Collective Consciousness Spirituality. O Ast Mut Puat Necharu Panebu, Mother of the Puat Necharus, Mistress of Pets, Maker of mankind. She who is mighty in Usu Medu Nefer Hekau, divine words of power, Mother of all initiations. We ask that you bless us humble servants for Ankh life being, now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones, and we practice daily the ancient Ma'atian ways and ancient Ma'atian truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and in the existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 61st Haru after the Heloka rising, 299 Harus remaining until Uben Soptis Cyrus rising, Upuat Samai Pet Digit Heb, 25th Haru, second Abet of Renunet, third Haru of Twamutef, first Haru, third Abet, first season of Shamu, Renpet year number 10, AFNK, after founding of Samai Tawi, phenomenon of precession, new age order, great golden age of Ma'at Ptah Asar. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those of us who gather together to worship in your most holy, sacred, and glorious ancient Tamarian name of Epederoo Panebu, for in the art of seeking you, there is much comfort. So as it is spoken, so let it be written, so shall it be done, so let it be for now and forever forward. Ra, never tesha Ra, Panatora Pu Pamaat, Aquas de Jed, Ak Uja Seneb, Ubin Nefer Iker, Panebu Horu Ma'ati, rising always in divine excellence with Ma'at every day, all day. Dua, Dua-u.
Dua, dua, dua-u to you, Queen Mother Goddess Asma'at Tefnut. Your words are macharu. They are victorious and righteously great. You are true of voice. You have permission to speak before the ancestors, the ancient ones, and the Epederoo because you have commanded the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of ponderable matter. And we say to you, O great Queen Mother Goddess, dua, dua, dua.
Dua, we'll see what Ptah secrets are. And at this time, if you would, speak your Hesse.
Yes. Anuk Ptah Asar, I shall perform my Hesse, my Saku, my affirmation, so that I may command the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of ponderable matter. I shall pronounce the Usa Medu Nefer Heka'u, the divine words of power, so that I have permission to speak before the ancestors, the ancient ones, and the Epederoos. And I shall begin. Hetepu, Hetepu, Dua, 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 Dua-u, Dua-u, Anezarak, Ramech, Hotep. Greetings in divine greatness, divine excellence to the first families of the new age order of the great golden age of Ptah Asar, my Nagas, my Shemsurus, my Nesubitis, my Hemets, my Sibas and Sibats, my Mutnatats, the immortal ones of Ma'at, cherished, phenomenon of precession, new age order, great golden age of Ma'at Ptah Asar, and all citizens, descendants of the Nile Valley, cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality. Oh, Ast, Ermut, Patnataroo, Panebu, the mother of the Netaroos, the mistress of Pet, the maker of mankind, she who is mighty in Usa Medu Nefer Heka'u, divine words of power. Bless us humble servants for Ankh, life, being, now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones and practice daily the ancient Ma'atian ways and ancient Ma'atian truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and in the existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 61st day of the year, the 61st day of the year after the helical rising, 299 days remaining until Ubin Suptit, Saris rising, Upuat, Samatawi, Wet Ren Pet Dejit Heb, New Year's celebration, the 25th day of the second month of Renudet, the third day of Twamutef, the first day of the third month of the first season of Shemu, year number 10, AFNK/ST, after the founding of New Kemet, Naga Kemet, Samatawi, phenomenon of precession, new age order, great golden age, Ptah Asar. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those of us who gather together to worship in your most holy, sacred, and glorious ancient Tamarian name of Panebu, for in the act of seeking you, there is much comfort. So as it is spoken, so let it be written, so let it be done, so shall it be, for now and forever forward. Ra Nebateshara, Panata Apupamaat, Onkwas Dejet, Onkuja Seneb, Uben Nefike Paneburuma Ati, rising always in divine excellence with Ma'at, every day, all day. Dua, dua, dua.
Dua, Dua, we see the Ptah Asar. Your words are Macharu, true voice. You are victorious and righteous. You have commanded the forces, the cosmic forces, that allows you love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of ponderable matter. Your libation, Tessie, your Saku affirmation is splendor to the ears of the ancient ones, the Ptah and the ancestors. Dua, dua,
Dua, dua. So at this time, we would like to present to you a short audio recording of the translation and breakdown of the Epederoo, Shabit Dem Tuaru Pamaat, Epederoo. Ipet means to measure, Meduneta. Heru means day. It's a word we use to say calendar in our own traditional language of Meduneta, or we can call it a Shabit Em Heru Pamaat. Shabit and Meduneta means shadow. Em means of the star. Heru is the day, the shadow of the star and the day. And Pamaat and divine within the divine doctrines of Ma'at. So there were two ways to say calendar. So when we say Ipederoo, if Ipet means the measure, Heru means the day. That's the way Riketi Amen, Mefundishi, and most of the Kemetic community would have a translation for a calendar. But at the Temple of Tesha Parah, the Holy House of Ra, we use the Shabit Emtwaru Pamaat. We use that term because if you use the shadow first, then it recognizes scientifically and mathematically in which your cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality, we will begin to triangulate within the cultural spirituality of the sacred science and the divine mathematics, because now you have to equate that shadow, which is only produced from the light. And when the light shines, it radiates on anything that's solid, liquids, and gases, it produces a shadow. So now you're able to implement and to applicate visually that which is esoterically, cosmically revealed to you, because atomic, now you have to relate atomically and subatomically, but we shall begin to continue into that. But she's about to play this short audio recording of the Epederoo, Shabik Dem Twa Eru Pama. Duau, Sibat, As Ma'at Tefnu. Please. Is it okay to continue now, Siba Duncan? Dua, Siba. Sibat, please.
Yes, Siba.
Hetepoo, hetepoo, hetepoo. Dua, dua, dua. Greetings, divine greatness, divine excellence to the first families. My Nagas, Shamsarus, Nasupitis, Sibal, Sibats, Mutatats, the immortal ones of my heart cherished, of the phenomenon of precession, New Age order, great golden age of Ptah Asar, and all citizens, descendants of the Nile Valley cultural cosmic collective consciousness spirituality. Many are the mysteries concerning the universe and the life that is found within it. This is also true regarding the theories, laws that govern them. Who am I? Where do I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? All the known and unknown forces of the universe are of one origin. Necessity becomes the order by which these forces reveal themselves. Existence demands that energy be spent. Existence is realized by the expansion of energy that must have a source. In the case of our universe, life is always associated to heat and movement. But the energy that drives the entire universe is of the direct result of the self-creation of Ra Nebuchadnezzar, radiation, which produces the phenomena of attraction and repulsion, along with the anomalies of heat and movement. Ha nata apu ma'at, how sweet is the ma'at, truth of the Ptah was dejet, life, power, stability. Uja seneb, life, prosperity, health. Uben nepike nebuaru ma'ati, rising always in divine excellence with ma'at, every day, all day. The knowledge of the stars is evident in Epederoo, Shabik Dem Tuaru Pamaat. And you, fortunate listeners here today, will soon come to the realization that this understanding was omitted in the development of calendars of other cultures. In this text, I have mentioned a few and will now elaborate on those other calendars and reintroduce to you the Epederoo Shabit Temtuaru Pamat, the ancient Asarian solar system lunar calendar, and its unique concept of star time. According to the New Book of Knowledge, a calendar is a system for keeping track of time. It is a kind of clock for the entire year. While a clock measures seconds, minutes, and hours of the day, a calendar measures the days, weeks, and months of the year. This is the accepted definition of a calendar. However, in ancient Tamari, Tanisha, Taneferu, Taneteru, Kemet, Naga Egypt, the calendar is a seasonal time chart that was regulated and observed by understanding the precession of the stars. From a section entitled How the Modern Western Calendar Measures Time, the basic units of a calendar are day, week, month, and year. Our modern day calendar has 365 days, divided into 12 months, as well as 52 weeks with one extra day. Each week has 7 days. These divisions of time are based upon the movement of the earth, moon, and sun. Where are the mention of stars? Our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors star-dated everything. In the temple of Epederoo that was discovered by Napoleon's General de Saxe during the French intervention of African Egypt in 1798 AD, inside on a ceiling in an upper room, they found the Zodiac of Dendra, starting with the sign of the lion, Leo, during the spring equinox. This circular zodiac indicates a celestial alignment that occurred over 38,000 years ago, making it the oldest and most complete of any astronomical charts ever found on the earth. This zodiac of 12 astrological signs, written in an African dialect, demonstrates that it was a gift of superior black minds and supersedes accepted concepts that suggest that the Chaldeans or Babylonians were the originators of astrology and astronomy, and or that zodiac with its Latin names were the results of Roman efforts. Remember, zodiac in Latin means zoo. That famous gap always presents itself. Well, let me reassure you today, right now, that 38,000 years ago, there was no Europe or Rome, and there were no Hebrews or Greeks nor Babylonians. The zodiac can be observed within the squared center of the Asarian solar calendar. The alignment also indicates a time when the stars Subtit, Sirius, and Ra rose cosmically under the sign of the great year Pisces. This helical rising of two kindred stars occurs every 1,461 years and was in unison with the Epagamo days, or Renpet, the ancient Egyptian New Year's, and was known as the symbolic year, or year of years. Now, here was an ideal model of a 38,000-year-old calendar that was in perfect alignment with the stars, and it also was rejected. Why? Let us examine the information that is and was available. The ancient Egyptians conceived of a cycle that included day and night and duat and twat, and these periods were awarded a certain amount of time. In the modern calendar, this cycle is called a day, the amount of time it takes the sun to rise, set, and then rise again. Each day includes a period of sunlight and darkness that was determined by the rotation of the earth and the position of the sun. The ancient Egyptians, of course, they gave names to these days, and this practice is still continued. In early calendars, a month was the amount of time it took the moon to complete an orbit and undergo its cycles, recalling the very early calendars that were based upon the cycles of the moon, where each cycle of the moon takes 29.5 days. Compiling a calendar of 12 months would result in a year that is only 354 days long. The Romans, they had 10 months in their early calendar, which ended in the month of Dise, 10, which had the shortest of years. If we add 13, we arrive at 383.5 days. There is no correct solution if the moon is the principal inspiration. Today, it is known that it takes 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds for the Earth to complete the revolution of the sun, which designates a year. This created a problem of what to do with the extra 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. How could the extra time be taken into account? The European answer was leap year. To make up the extra time, 1 day is added to the calendar every 4 years. Because of this, many uncertainties have occurred, causing other cultures to create or retain their own calendars. From the Zodiac, such as the one found at Epederoo, the ancient Egyptians formulated the 10-month solar calendar. This understanding is reflected within the Rosarian solar calendar, which introduces itself as a star chart that is derived from most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors' concept of time and space. It would seem that a calendar can only be the result of celestial movement, be it moon or stars. It would please me very much at this time, Seba, Clemson, Brown, on your platform at Transatlantic Productions, if everyone here listening today would consider this premeditation for a calendar. In the vernacular, outer space was the timeless void of darkness before the introduction of the light. Ra was the light, and as the light moved within the void, time was introduced. Our sun is a member of a trinity of suns that played major roles in the development of our quadrant of stars, planets, moons, and life forms. The word was given, and the 3 stars began to move apart from one another. Their names are Ra, Sirius, and Alcyone. As this separation occurred, the surface of each was lessened by great masses of viscous matter that seemed to escape into space, only to be captured by the gravitational pull of its receptor. These 3 stars highlight much of what it is that we see today as we gaze upward and outward. Our view is restricted only by the natural alignment of our Earth and our northern hemisphere. From these bodies of light comes the making of our zodiac, our solar system, and all the visible constellations. With this natural order as the grid, the 10-month solar calendar was fashioned.
I think your wire is hitting your clothes and it's causing a disturbance. But go ahead.
From the zodiac, such as the one found at Epederoo, the ancient Egyptians formulated the 10-month solar calendar. This understanding is reflected within the Rosarian solar calendar, which introduces itself as a star chart that is derived from most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors' concept of time and space. It would seem that a calendar can only be the result of celestial movement, be it moon or stars. Can we finish up with the video? You got the audio back on? Okay. As we gaze upward and outward, our view is restricted only to the natural alignment of our Earth and our From these bodies of light comes the makings of our zodiac, our solar system, and all the visible constellations. With this natural order as the grid, the 10-month solar calendar was fashioned. Our solar system has 10 heavenly bodies, 1 sun and 9 planets. Thus, they factor together a calendar of 10 months, each consisting of 36 days, 4 weeks of the month, 9 days in a week. They developed a system of 60 seconds to a minute and 60 minutes to an hour. This was done by adding the 12 miles a second it takes the sun to travel around Alcyone. Multiplied 10 times gave them 120 miles of movement in 60 seconds, until realizing that in each cycle of 60, a new star alignment occurred. Thus, the civil year was born. It came to be understood that the civil cycle of Cyrus occurred annually at the same time. The cycling of Cyrus provided the answers to the number of hours in one orbit of the Earth around the sun, which is 8,766 hours. Armed with this information, a calendar could be accurately devised, consisting of 10 months, 360 days, 4 weeks of the month, 9 days a week, and 8,766 hours in a year. What made the solar calendar so unique was its concept of time allotment, such as allotting 12 hours to the day and 12 hours to the night, and 35 minutes that was split between the duat and the tuat, the latter being the periods between sunrise and sunset, respectively. This resulted in the sighting of familiar stars at a predictable seasonal occurrence. Each day of the year was heralded by a star that gave identity to your significance. And in this way, they related the time in the stars. Every second was accounted for, and the natural order was observed. This produced the first of the ancient 24 hours, 35-minute days of the year, based on the sighting of stars. This is an understanding that went beyond the moon and allowed 100% accuracy. Now, some of you in the listening audience may ask the question, did our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors equate the moon to their calendar? Yes, strangely enough, in their own way they did. Jehuti, the teacher of Asar, was known as the Neche of the moon. It was under his instigation that the Jehuti calendar, consisting of 365 days and a quarter day, comes into being. Because of the strong effect that the moon displays in other calendars, they without a doubt derived from this system. The story continues in classic ancient Egyptian pageantry that weaves fact with fiction and theories that involve the movement of the stars. It was after the earth was saved from the insects and the planet was ready for humankind that Ra had forbid the allotment of more time so that mankind could be born on the earth. Only within the existing order of time would life forms be allowed. All the other forms were created and surviving. Only mankind need be added to complete the 7 forms of life that are found on the earth. Seb, the earth Neche, petitioned Lord Jehuti, the moon Neche, to plead with Ra, the sun Neche, for an allotment of time, so that his mate Newt, the sky Netert, could give birth to the earth Epederoo. But Ra was unrelenting. It was known that the great company of Epteroos would often gather and engage in games of chance. Ra was in need of someone to give names to all the forms of life which he had allowed to evolve, and in this way his works would have meaning. You see, he was beginning to grow old from the billions and billions of years of existence. He found this task too tedious. A wager was arranged between Ra and Jehuti, with the winner indulging the other. Jehuti would name all the forms of life which he had allowed to evolve, if he should lose. While should Ra lose, the 35 minutes that exist between the Duat and the Twat would be forfeited. In a wager that is known only to the great company of gods and goddesses, Lord Jehuti was the victor. He claimed this prize. The 35 minutes of time that he gained control of, even the exact cycle of 10 months, 4 weeks, 9 days, totaling 360. The 35 minutes when multiplied by 360 totaled 5 1/4 days, added on to a year that still had 8,766 hours. The question now is, how could our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors add 5 1/4 days and not have a leap year? This also clarifies the final usage of the moon in our calendar. If you recall that on the Zodiac of Dendra, there are mention of the Epederoo days, or Red Pet, the ancient Egyptian New Years. These are the days that were gained by Lord Jehuti. The 5 1/4 days that were added on to the 360-day Earth orbit are the days that the Earth Netches were born. In the Epederoo, Shabit Dem Twaheru Pama'at, the ancient African Basarian Kemetic solar system lunar calendar, and the Natharuological star timeline, they are visible in the month of Ptah, with the moon going through its phases, signaling the sighting of star something in the 5 1/4 days of observance, until the stars align again, starting the new year. These 5 1/4 days are accounted for by fasting, prayer, festival, celebration, and observance. Every second of the orbit of the Earth is accounted for in that singular revolution. There was no need of leap year. This is the understanding that was lost, stolen, and denied with the intervention of Julius Caesar and the Romans. It is obvious that the Romans dissected the Jehuti calendar, which is in use today, adding Latin names and interpretations and the concept of leap year. Remember, the word calendar originates from the Latin word calendae. The Epederoo, Shabit Dem Twaheru Pama'at, the ancient African Basarian solar system lunar calendar, and the Natharuological star timeline, is all of these calendars in one, with 3 versions that encompasses the message that was depicted on the ceiling of the ancient Egyptian temple of Epederoo and Dendra. And in closing this short presentation of the Doctorship, I would like to recite The words of our great maternal father, Asar Nefer Kendiameti, that within the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. Panata Pupama'an Ogwas de Jeno, Kuja Selem, Ubin, Napike Pandebu, Heru Ma'ati, Ma'ati, Ma'ati. Dua. Seba, Clemson, Brown, you can take it from there. Okay. Clemens Brown, you there? So what you just heard?
The mic.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know me, I can't have no dead air spaces.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. The audio stopped playing, so I had to ad lib it. I had to jump in there.
You were on top of it.
No, that's okay.
You know, I wanted to ask you, how did we lose the knowledge? How did we lose all of this where the Europeans now take credit for it? Because this knowledge is so critical to our gaining our place, our rightful place in the world again. And if you can go through how the Europeans were able to steal from us all of these great contributions that African people made thousands of years actually before Europeans came into existence. Of course, everything above the 51st parallel, and I'd like you to speak on that, was ice in place than a mile thick. And ice doesn't recede until about 7,000 to 8,000 years ago.
Yes, 12,000 years, yes.
So before then, Europeans, they couldn't study the stars. You can't do that in a cave. You can't do anything in the cave outside of adapt to that environment so you can survive, which is what they did. But it was a very limited environment. And you're talking about also African people who had to make that transition to become one with their environment in order for them to survive. As Professor Coleman was pointing out, the Ice Age moves under the earth so that these mountains in which Africans had moved, or at least had moved into Europe and was trapped in those glaciers where the mountains froze over and became ice glaciers. They could not come back into the sun, back into the climate in which had produced them. So if you can kind of,
pull it together. Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Pull that together for me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, everything revolves around the phenomenon of precession. This is what they stole from us. Now, and also as above, so below, as we're moving through this 26,000 year cycle in which we as melanated people, global people, in which we shall begin in Africa through the Hutu and the Twa and the Bantu, we understand that we have been traversing on this life cycle for over 5 to 10 million years. It's called our story. It's got nothing to do with his story or his story. So what they did was they corrupted and fragmented, and then they plagiarized, and then they regurgitated your own information back to you in an unholy manner and called it history or his story. And now they got you believing that history only goes back 5,000 years, which is ludicrous. Just for someone to even insinuate something like this. So like you said, the 51st parallel. So this is what we're on today. We're on the 52nd parallel. At the 52nd parallel, we know it as Stonehenge. When you look at your watch today, you're looking at GMT. You're looking at Greenwich Mean Time. You're looking at UTC. You're looking at Universal Time Coordinated. Okay? Now, and this time you're looking at Stonehenge, England. So they actually moved the center of the earth from the Merkuru at 29 latitude, 29 longitude, or 3030, which is the Merkuru, which is the Great Pyramid in Egypt or Kemet, and they moved it over to up to Stonehenge. Okay, so we're on fraudulent Gregorian chronological timeline right now. So to understand this, we're going to break this down scientifically, mathematically, and we're going to triangulate it with our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality, with astrology and astrology and astronomy, to have absolute accountability and star validation, because there is no spookism in our spirituality. Now, most teachers can tell you about the science, and most people can tell you about the mathematics, but it's very difficult for us to put it all together. We're going to bring you the whole package today here on the transatlantic production here with Brother Clemens Brown, who I'm honored to be on your platform, Siba. I am honored, first of all, to say that I am here. And I would like to thank my brother Reggie Mabry, who made this all possible. And I wish to say dua to my brother Reggie Mabry. So when we break this down, or how it happened, through the annals of history or academia, and understanding scholarship. So I have scholarship, but I am not a scholar. I would not call myself a scholar, because it'd be an insult to my ancestors, because the first school of scholarship is Plato. So to call myself a scholar would call myself a Greek, in which I become Hellenized and lobotomized, and which is part of this whole problem. It's called PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome. We've been Hellenized and lobotomized, and this is normal. This is not normal to have a melanated brain with a European mind. This is dysfunctional. So once we learn our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality, and we can apply it with the sacred science and divine math and triangulate, this is what cosmic metaphysics is. You have to balance the science, the math, and the cultural spirituality with astrology and you need the Medunetta. You have to be able to pronounce the Medunetta, so you need to learn to speak, read, write, teach, translate the Medunetta properly. And there's only one way to do it, and that's through the doctrines of Ma'at and the concept of self-creation. This is what we're here to do. This is first frequency, specifically Ra Nebuchadnezzar. We're going to address our spirituality, our sacred science, and our divine mathematics with astrology and astronomy, because we want everyone to know that we have absolute accountability and star validation. This is not a time for believing. It's a time for knowing. So we're going to make sure that you know how to tell time, because the first thing you're supposed to learn when you're a child is your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, how to tell your colors, and you write your name, and you know how to tell time. And if somebody touches you in that bad spot, call the police. Okay? These are just simple things you're supposed to know when you're a child. Here we are, grown men and women, and nobody knows how to tell true time, because they've stolen it from us. That's the first thing they stole from us. And this, for those who are scholars and those who wish to do their due diligence as scholars, I'm going to present the scholarship information to you. Just Google First Calendar Reform, 754 AUC. AUC is an acronym which means Ab, A-B, Urbe, U-R-B-E, Cordita, C-O-I-C-O-R-D-I-T-A, Ab Urbe Cordita. In Latin, that means upon the founding of the city of Rome. So you go into the public domain, www, and you're going to come up, they're going to show you, but you can't put in BC, you can't put in BCE. You have to put in AUC. If you put in AUC, 754 AUC, First Calendar Reform, they think that the computer thinks you're a theologian. The computer thinks you're an ecclesiastic person, because all ecclesiastic people know this. All theologians know this information. They know it, so they're going to lead you right to the Eratosthenes and Aristarchus. just as 754 BCE is the time when the Kush kings, Aspalta, Pianki, Tahaka, Pi, and when they lost control of the Samatawi, of the unification of the two lands, and they got ran right back up, or which is down at the upper Kemet, which is below, because of course they got the world upside down, because upper Kemet is in the Sudan, lower Kemet's up in near the Delta. So how can the river Nile, the river Nile does not run uphill. Gravity, you cannot defy gravity. So obviously they have the whole map of the world upside down. But anyways, so now we know when this happened. Now they know when it happened. You got to ask yourself a question. How can they pass down to their children and their descendants how to maintain your mental, physical, spiritual subjugation, yet we cannot pass down to our children our liberation and our divine birthright of immortality as the divine monarchs of this planet, universal monarchs, the ones who gave immortality, who cultivated this whole planet. There's ancient architectural megalithic monuments all over this planet that are orientated to these celestial cardinal points, which they are all on the same time system, just like the Merku, the Great Pyramid of Kemet, it was a Great Pyramid of Egypt. And if you run that down that Nilotic meridian, you hit Ethiopia, the calendar field in Ethiopia, which the Ashwakwezi goes every year. He'll show you. We'll go to Ashwakwezi. He'll show you the calendar of T. You keep going down, you're going to hit Naphtha. This is on the Nilotic meridian, and then you keep going down to South Africa, and you come up with Adam's calendar. Of course, it's not Adam's calendar. Some European named Adam says he found it, so they call it Adam's calendar. But on the Adam's calendar, if you run the computer backwards, the star computer backwards, there's 3 stones, and in front of it there's a stone they call the Horus Stone. Just Google Horus Stone. Horus Stone, Adam's calendar, the Horus Stone, and you'll see a figure. You'll see a megalithic architectural figure of a stone hawk, a falcon, in front of 3 megalithic slabs, and these slabs represent the constellation of Orion. And when they run the computer backwards, and they fall, these 3 stars of Orion's constellation fall on top of this 250,000 years ago. So here it is, our ancestors had our cultural cosmic collective conscious spirituality and the belief in Heru, which means that the Shemsu Herus were here 250,000 years ago, which means that the Shemsu Sets were here also. So this is what they call circumstantial evidence. This evidence does not create. It has no. This is a mimi. This is a fugazi. Yeah, that's star talk. That doesn't make sense. No, our ancestors wrote everything in the stars. It's a star code. It's a color code. It's a sound code. This is how our ancestors wrote everything in mute testimony. So it's a frequency. You'll not understand it unless you're on the proper frequency. And I meant to begin it all off with the 3 lines of defense. After our Hesi, we have our 3 lines of defense. Hesi is the first line. Second line of defense is the livid. You can't have the frequency. If you woke up this morning eating that food, you ate that bacon and eggs, if you ate that meat this morning, if you ate anything that was synthetic that disturbed your frequency, today is not your first day. I'm here to assist you to remember your divine birthright of immortality. But it's all a frequency. So what they did was they destroyed your frequency. They got you waking up to that sickness of that food he's eating, that drinking that milk, nothing but mucus, eating them eggs and that cheese, and then eating that flesh. You put yourself, all you got to do is Google Dr. Taino's body chart. Just Google it. If you have a wireless device next to you, do your due diligence. Well, we bring your note and paper because we're going to go into this. We're going to make sure that everybody understands how they stole our time, and then I'm going to show you how to tell true time. So when you got a body frequency of under lower 24, that means scientifically you're walking dead. Your frequency is null and void. He shut down your pineal gland and your chakras are dormant. So now you're the walking dead. You're a zombie. Now you don't know how to tell time. So actually you're an astronaut on a planet called Earth that's revolving around the sun. So you're an astronaut on a spaceship called Earth or Seb that's rotating on its axis, revolving around the sun, tilted 23.5 degrees from vertical, making a 26,000 year cycle, and you're moving around the Milky Way galaxy, and you don't know nothing about it. And you're expanding with the universe, so you're lost in space. This is our predicament right now. And they call this injured humanity. Just Google injured humanity. You'll see the happy children of Africa because the world became Hellenized. So when in 754 AUC, first calendar reform, you'll see Eratosthenes and Aristarchus. Eratosthenes, Erathos. As soon as you put them words in, predictive text is going to come up with his name because you're a theologian now because you put in the right words. They think that you're one of the people who are trained to keep us subjugated. So they're going to give you the information. They don't know that you're validated yet because you're just putting in the right keywords. It's an algorithm. So now you go to first calendar reform. Now you go to the second calendar reform. It goes down to 3. Alexander the Great is 323. So Ptolemy is his general. They drew lots. He drew Egypt. Ptolemy lands in Egypt. So Alexander's 323. He died at 3. So we'll say 299 BCE is Ptolemy took over Kemet and has the Ptolemaic dynasty. And then you'll see decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3. Bam, Ptolemy the first, Ptolemy the third, and Ptolemy the fifth. These are decrees that was set to maintain our subjugation, and they placed us under that phony lunar cycle Kemetic calendar that you see today that has 10 months in a year, 30 days in every month, 3 weeks in a month, 10 days every week. A 10-day week calendar means there's 30 days in a month. And if it's 30 days in a month, it's a Gregorian calendar is 30 days, the Mayan calendar, the Ethiopian calendar. Every calendar today on this planet has 30 days. It's a mathematical equation. It's nothing personal. I'm not attacking anybody. The Kemetic people fed you the same calendar that Ptolemy fed you from the Zodiac of Dendra. Why did they leave the Zodiac of Dendra, the only spherical cylinder calendar in Kemet that they found so far? All the rest of them are on tomb walls. How come? Because it's a Ptolemaic calendar. Because if you look at the 36 deacons that go around it, this has already been documented, by the way. The 36 deacons that goes around the precession on the Zodiac of Dendra, they're from Babylon. They have Babylonian letters on there. They got Persian letters. They got letters. They got Greek letters on there. So what's going on? Because it was designed for us today to fall into the Hellenistic paradigm trap. It's called being Hellenized and lobotomized. They separated your body from your brain right now. You have not a clue. Don't worry about it if you don't understand what I'm saying right now. Play the tape backwards as you travel hither and thither, north, south, east, west upon the terrestrial plane within the atomic domain. Just know you that this is the Epederoo, Panebu, the chapter of coming forth by day, every and knowing the continuous perpetual evolutions of Ra Never Teshuvah. Trying to move you right through this information you need to know, because you got to understand that on the lunar cycle calendar, every 130 years, let me reiterate, every 130 years, one unearned day is added to that Gregorian calendar. So you're not going to see it in your lifetime, and your child is not going to see it, and your next descendant is not going to see it. But 400 to 500 years down the road, because of one unearned day added to the calendar, on the spring equinox, the sun doesn't rise on the spring equinox. It drifts. It's called the drift. And so if you don't correct this in 1,000 years, the sun is not lining up. That means you have to plant the crops. So if you plant the crops during a spring equinox and you're 2 weeks, 3 weeks away, the spring equinox already passed, and you planted 3 weeks later, the crops don't grow properly. So this is what happens. So they told them in 754 BC, okay, we got these black people. We got them. They're our slaves. We're gonna subjugate them, and we're gonna kill all the priests, kill everybody, and get these new people to follow this time chart. But you got to remember, he's telling his people, you got to remember, stay on the spring equinox. But they were so busy gorging themselves on Africa, on our riches, on our women's, on everything. They're just going, they're having orgies, they're fornicating, they're just killing us every day. And then the next son came and he did the same thing. And he don't remember about the calendar reform. And then after 700 years, all of a sudden, the plants aren't growing, the crops is not growing. There's no food in the granary. So somebody said, what's going on? So they had to go back into our text and found out that they recognized that the spring equinox didn't line up. Hence, calendar reform number 2. It's under Decree of Canopus. All you got to do is Google Decree of Canopus. Is 1, 2, and 3. The Decree of Canopus number 3 is you're familiar with it because the stone of the Rosetta Stone comes off the. Because Rosetta Stone is a fragment that came off of the Decree of Canopus number 3 to give you more reference. Now, calendar reform number 5 is 46 BCE, which is Julius Caesar. He has the Julian calendar. The Greco-Roman calendar is called a Julian calendar, in which the Gregorian calendar is a plagiarized version of that. So Julius Caesar meets up with Cleopatra, and her vizier is called Sosthenes, Sosegen. Just Google that name. Just put them 4 or 5 words in, and you'll see his name pop up because they got predictive text. They think you're a theologian. And in 46 BCE, Julius Caesar puts his neck up the Sosthenes' throat. He molests him with his genitals, and he's you know what the Romans do. And he said, "I'm Caesar. Io vide, io venne, io vece. I came, I saw, I conquered. I conquered Gaul. You better put me on the map." So we went from 9 days in a week to 8 days. We went from 10 months in a year to 11. Caesar got assassinated at the Senate. Et tu, Brute, he got stabbed in the Senate. And here comes Tiberius, and after Tiberius came Augustus Caesar. Augustus Caesar runs up on Cleopatra. He runs up on Sosthenes. He said, "Put me on the map. I'm Caesar." So we went from 8 days to 7. We went from 11 months to 12. Everybody knows this but black people. There's 9 days in a week. Before the Romans and the Greeks, there were 9 days in every week. And time was kept by charting stars that were visible on our calendar, aware of the movement of the earth, stars, and moon. These ancient African indigenous primordial ancestral people were cosmically attuned. This little poem to go for you. And now let's check it out. Go back to your scholarship. Let's get back to your due diligence. Everybody knows this, right? Because let's check. Now all we know is Latin and Greek. So let's go into our scholarship with our Latin and Greek, and let's go into etymology. And we know that dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is 10. Ray Charles knows this. So why is December our 12th month? Nove is nueve in Spanish and Latin. Nove in Spanish is 9. Is 9. It's our 11th month. Octo is the Latin root word for 8. An octopus has 8 tentacles. An octagon has 8 sides. But yet October is our 10th month. Did you never wondered? You never asked yourself? This is all, and September, sept is siete is 7. How come December is our 12th month? Because of 2 historical figures. One is Julius Caesar, who's July, and Augustus Caesar is August. You never asked yourself? They got it. And then after Augustus calendar, after Augusta put itself on the calendar, the next calendar reform is 325 AD, called the Council of Nicaea. Oh, was Jesus the Father, the Son of the Holy Ghost? He never even existed. Everybody knows Jesus was Ptolemy the First, Soter, Serapi, September, Mary, Amen. Got these black people thinking some Jesus coming out the sky, gonna save you. He never even existed. He was made up. It was preserved by the last Romans after Constantine, called the Flavians. Everybody knows they killed everybody who resisted, and the Romans now on the Decree of Canopus in 325 AD, at the end of all that phony foolishness they fed to you through theology and ecclesiastic information, the whole thing of it in the last 5 columns, it says, oh yeah, we altered the calendar. We had a calendar reform. The New Year's is now on the spring equinox. If you look, they moved the first of the year to March 31st because they kept gorging themselves on Africa. Everybody keeps forgetting to keep an eye on the spring equinox. Because every 130 years under this calendar, under that Gregorian or that Greco-Roman or that Ptolemaic or that Eratosthenes Aristarchus mathematical equation of a lunar cycle calendar, which is an agricultural calendar. It's a civil calendar. It can only feed you. So this calendar is solar, sidereal, and lunar. It connects you to the cosmic environment, the phenomenon of precession, expanding universe, to the origins of existence, the crazy development, the origins of existence, and the creation and development of the universe. But let's just finish this part here before we go. Come and just lay a foundation for you so we can all just step out of this paradigm of falling asleep and let us all wake up and let us all remember our divine birthright of immortality. And this is your right to passage. This is your right to passage. The Epederoo shabitem tuaru pamat. Time, the sun, the light. We're children of the light. But let's get to the scholarship and this history stuff, because I hate talking about it, but I know this time thing is new to everybody, so I'm gonna breeze you right through it. I might talk a little fast. Just rewind the tape next time you hear it. So now we go from 325 AD, pop, to 1585 is the Gregorian calendar. So Pope Gregory, he noticed there was a famine. They couldn't even grow potatoes. There was a drought. It was a famine. They had a pandemic. So Pope Gregory, what he did was he waived all debt, because the calendar, they use the calendar as commodity. It's a commodity. Everything on here is about making money, just like it is today. That calendar has no use for your spirituality. The Gregorian calendar has no essence of spirituality for melanated people. It's only used for marketing and for equity. Okay, so now on Pope Gregory, he says, okay, for 14 days, nobody pays any debt. You don't have to pay no bills. Everything you owe, we don't owe nothing for 14 days. And they just waited. They waited for that spring equinox. And they waited for the sun to hit that spring equinox line. Pop! He implemented the Gregorian calendar with divisions of 400. And with these divisions of 400 in leap year time means that you will not see a unearned day for 3,000 years now. So remember, when it first happened with 754 AUC with Eratosthenes Aristarchus, every 130 years, one unearned day added to the calendar. But today, it won't happen for 3,000 years. So if we didn't catch it now, if I didn't catch it now, and I'm presenting this to the family, to the Ramech, to the family, all this information is free. I don't want you to send me no money. I want nothing in return but your divine birthright of immortality. Oh, I expect you to buy a calendar for $20. But other than that, in my book, I ain't charging nobody for information, because the information I have is your divine birthright. So how can I charge you for it? It doesn't make sense. So now you know, now you understand how they stole time from you, basically, that you could Google this. Let's get past all that. History. I hate talking about history. All I want to talk to you today is our story. Do you know what it feels like to be an uncrowned Nasut Hemet, king and queen, lacking honor, a crown, a throne, a Merku, a solar silver lunar calendar, and just about everything? Well, let me tell you of our story, of our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors in their glory. Those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets, kings and queens. Those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets, kings and queens. From diamonds and pearls and emeralds and all sorts of precious things. Everyday trinkets for those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets. Everyday trinkets for those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets. But without your past, you can only live life in half. Half man, half woman, half beast, half slave. And this trend of thought is all that you have sought, all that you have bought without knowledge of yesterday, without knowledge of yesterday. It's a little short poem to help lower down the frequency to make sure everybody's following along. Now let's understand our cosmic time. First of all, you got to explain time. What is time? Time is the movement or measurement of the light through the void of deep dark cold space from one point or distance to another. Speed 186,000 miles per second. Light is the absence of darkness, and darkness is the absence of light. Light is the giver of Ankh, life, to all things upon the terrestrial plane within the atomic domain. Ankh, life, is the consciousness and awareness of being. Ankh, life, is the generic expression of the light, and is only found in three forms: solids, liquids, and gases, matter, the elements, the Neteroos. However, the light is not the Zep Tepi. first time, the origins of existence, creation, and development of the universe. The light has a mirrored reflection, and that reflection is radiation, subatomic, the cosmic egg, Ra Nebuchadnezzar. And I just want to send it right back to, did I just take that long to answer one question? That's crazy. Back to you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm long-winded.
No, be as long-winded as you need to be in order to bring us into a
right, the New Age order. So
yeah,
can I continue, Seba? Can I continue, Seba, or would you like to review? I can take time out. We're not in no rush. I'm here for you.
No. Continue now. If you need time out for a glass of
Nah, I don't need time out. I was born for this. I've been waiting to be on your show for 50 years. So my name Anuk Ptah Asar. I am the royal scribe, master craftsman, and keeper of time of Tesha Parah, the Holy House of Ra, Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm also the Ra constructor of the original calendar of our ancestors, a solar, sidereal, and lunar cycle calendar. And I am the chief mortuary architect of the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta at the Museum of the National Center for Afro-American Artists at 300 Walnut Ave in Roxbury, Massachusetts. I am also the chief architect or developer of the Naga Ship Association and its institutions. And at the Naga Ship Association, we are developing products, website platforms, and services to all the Ramets of the First families to assist you in all your comedic needs. We're going to have online classes. Everything's going virtual. So let us continue with the story. Let us go cosmic. Let us find out how to applicate this scientifically, mathematically, and with our cultural, cosmic, collective, conscious spirituality. Because remember, right now, you are injured humanity. You're a mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slave. That's why Black lives don't matter. Black lives haven't mattered for 4,000 years. They've actually made laws 4,000 years ago that are implemented today, all the way from 4,000 years ago when they took us to court. They took us to court after the Kush kings lost control of Kemet in 754 BCE. Then came in 666 BCE is Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuchadnezzar. We go back to the Darius and the Persians. Then we got Xerxes. Then we got the Greeks. And then we got the Libyans who joined in on them. And at that time, they took us to court. It's called the first kangaroo court. We wasn't even present. And they trumped up charges on us. And they said that the first charge is called execution of judgment. Execution of judgment. An execution of judgment means that they took us to court. And they filed papers that said there will never be another global Naga rule on this planet. That's what they took us to court for. We wasn't even present. And they came to judgment was execution of sentence. They found us guilty of being Black. and they sentenced us to injured humanity. Just Google it. Injured humanity. The happy children of Africa. And then they stripped us of everything. And they made it so that at that time, any melanated person on this planet who meets up with a European person, that European person has the power to condition you, to subjugate you, and to place you into bondage, and to inflict the most excruciating pain upon you. And it was legal. It's called an unbridled license. Please Google that word, unbridled. An unbridled license. Guess who has an unbridled license? 007, James Bond. He's got a license to kill. This means they got a license to kill you and they cannot be prosecuted. Now, since you're a scholar, just Google the United States of America. 1669, the Casual Killing Act. 1619, Casual Killing Act. 1619, New York, Casual Killing Act. 1669, Virginia, the Casual Killing Act. And it says that if I'm a white person, and I see you, a Black person, walk by me, and you looked me in the eye, that I had the right to condition you, to place you in bondage. And if in the act of me conditioning you and placing you in bondage, and I bring about your demise, I cannot be held accountable for or prosecuted for it. Read it. If my wife standing next to me assists in the process of subjugating you and placing you into bondage and you meet your demise, she cannot be prosecuted. And it even has the nerve to go on to say, if my dog and my wife, if my dog standing next to me assists me in placing you into subjugation, you cannot prosecute my dog either. I'm telling you, it's in, Google it, please, so that you understand why Black lives, everybody knows on this planet, Black lives don't matter. It's the law. It's been the law. So what they do is they keep you from understanding your cultural, cosmic, collective, conscious spirituality. And the way they do it is time. What did you do this morning that you keep doing that you can't recognize what you're doing? The first thing you do when you, I took care of the kids. I washed up. You did thought about everything but what they did. They did it. You're supposed to be the slickest people on the planet. OG gangsters. Don't mind me. I'm OG, NG, or priestly. I'll follow this road and this trail any way you want to lead it. I am a military priest. We are at war. I got mothers crying. I got babies dying. I am not here to take your temperature. I am not here to babysit you, and I'm sure not here to entertain you. I am humbly honored to be on this platform of yours, Seba Clemens Brown, on the Transatlantic Productions. And I am just here to let you know, to have you open up your eyes so you have an idea. What did you do this morning? Do you remember? You know what you did? You looked at that wall. No, first thing you did was you looked at your watch, because you know where you're going. You know you're going to the plantation. You know you headed to that plantation. You going to the plantation. Let's go to work. Let's go to work. You know where you're going. You had to look at the watch. So when you're on the watch, you remember you're on GMT, UTC, Universal Time Coordinated, Greenwich Mean Time, 52 parallels north of the equator. They're telling you the Korean people have just made a resolution with the United States that they will not follow the Gregorian calendar any longer, because everybody knows it's to keep Black people subjugated into mental incarceration. So now what did you do? You had to look at the calendar. You looked at that Gregorian calendar and just to find out what day it was, because you know where you got to go. You got to go to the appointment, to the PTA, take the kids to that brainwash school to set them up for limitations, and then you know what you're doing. So the word today is take down the Gregorian calendar from your wall. As long as we're on Gregorian time, it don't matter how many laws you pass, how many of you Christian brothers and sisters make millions. You make $1 million as a basketball player, and then the money's gone, or you get injured, and then you transition to the next life. Where did you go? Did you go see Jesus? Did you go to heaven with Allah? All slave masters that enslaved you? You want to be a Muslim? I'm not here to down anybody. I'm just here. You could be what you want to be. I'm only here for the Shemsuerus, for my Nagas, my Nesubitis, my Hemets, my Sibas, my Sibats, my Munatats, the immortal ones of my At. Cherish. So you have to ask yourself, here's the age-old question. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? This is the questions we're going to answer today. In a second, we're going to take a pause for the cause to go back to my Seba Clemens, because you know, if you turn me loose, I won't stop for like 3 hours, Seba. So I'm going to send it back to you. Well, I'm going to send this back to you and let you facilitate, navigate, and you and the Queen Mother Goddess. And so in case there's I'll follow your path.
Well, let me say this. This is the conversation that we must have, and it must get deeper until our people begin to understand their oneness with the universe, which is the way that we can exit the condition that we're in. And you really just laid it out. We live in a world that presents Black people as a people that has contributed nothing to civilization. And literally, white people ask the question, why should we let them live? Why should we allow them to live? Why should we allow them to breathe the air and take up space? They're useless eaters. Now, and they're armed to the teeth. But that really is not a final say. Once we understand who we are, and that is, if you go back into ancient African history, and you understand that they understood that they were one with nature. And I'm saying that because I want you to get into this concept of one with nature. I was listening at Dr. Clark this morning, and he was dealing with African law and order before European contact. So that, and I know that you have great respect for Professor Gabriel Oyibo.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so
GIJ.
Professor Oyibo, I had the pleasure of traveling with him throughout Nigeria for his peer review. So there were mathematicians from all over the world invited to challenge him. So I want us to, well, we won't be able to do it on this session, but I want us to do some sessions looking at the unified field theory.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna go right through this. I'm gonna bring you right through that right now. As soon as you unleash me again, we're gonna go through it.
And what Professor Ebo is saying.
Absolutely. GIJ comma J equals 0. Yes.
But our oneness with the universe is so deep and profound that if we begin to see that oneness, how do we get back to a consciousness of that oneness? How do we get back to understanding that when we live Ma'at, because if you look at the African principles of how the universe operates, you'll see that opposites is a part of those principles. So if you have up, you got to have down. If you have right, you got left. If you have hot, you got cold. If you got good, you got evil. So we're living and we're dealing in this 26-year calendar, which is we're now in the calendar deacon of Cephas, which is the Ethiopian king, the riots of the black man. But when you begin to understand that our consciousness, when we live Ma'at, we remove the ego from our space. And it's not us who speaks. It's the Creator speaking through us. So whatever we call forth must come forth, because it ain't us who's calling it. It's the Creator calling it. And so the power of creation is in our consciousness when we remove our ego, living Ma'at. And that's where we have to go back to. I'd like to hear your understanding of that and how you interpret that in a way that our people can understand it, because, you know, we talk about religion, and you're right, Africans didn't have a religion. Africans had spirituality, but it wasn't religion. But once religion comes into being through the Europeans, we are trapped. All of the murders and wars and everything really manifest through religion. Not that any of them believe, you know, the tenets to the point that they live by them, but the few at the top use religion to manipulate everybody else, to war with each other so that their greed can be satisfied, so that their power can be satisfied, can be substantiated, so that they can control the resources of the earth and the people of the earth. So they use religion to galvanize people to fight one another so that they remain in power and in control. But beyond religion is
spirituality.
With the spirituality, oneness with creation. And once we see ourselves and understand that, we can leave this plane. We don't have to be here. I mean, we'll be here, but we'll not be bound by the evil that is now in power. We can overcome it. So I appreciate if you speak on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That goes with, they say, the powers, army of the power, the army of an idea whose time has not yet passed, to our army of a time whose time has come. So we are the Shemsurus. So in order to comprehend what you're saying is to understand that we don't have no religion. We are not, religion has nothing to do with us. Religion is history, and religion is used to control us. We are cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality. We have a spirituality that transcends millions and millions of years. So let's just break this down. As you know, in scholarship, let's break this again. So I like to address the scholars first and get them out the way, because, you know, they like to chase the tail around in a circle like a mad dog and never catch the tail until they go to sleep. Because that's history. That's what history does. You fall prey to the paralysis analysis. But once you learn our story, you'll learn of, when you learn the doctrines of Ma'at through the concept of self-creation. Everything comes through this concept of self-creation. So let's break it down mathematically with the sacred math first, because I know Reggie's watching. So I got to bring forth the math and bring forth the science, because there is no science without math, no math without science. And we need our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality to bring, to triangulate all within the all of alls. So time, the earth has three motions. They teach you this in school. It rotates on its axis. That's the first motion. But they don't tell you the mathematical equation of that first motion, because they tell you it's just 24 hours in a day. But the original calendar of humankind, a solar sidereal calendar, the first motion of the earth is 24 hours and 35 minutes. There's 35 extra minutes. And this 35 minutes is split between the duat and the twat, which is sunrise, sunset, or dusk and dawn. We account for every second of light. And under this rotation of the earth, the second movement of the earth, it revolves around the sun. Everybody knows this. But this revolving around the sun of 24 hours and 35 minutes means there's only 360 days in a year, because there's 360 degrees in a circle. Now, this is a perfect calendar. There's 8,766 years, 66 hours in a year. That's called a sidereal calendar. Just Google it. Google a sidereal calendar. It'll tell you the amount of time it takes for the star Scepter to Sirius to break the plane, traverse the elliptic plane, and return to its original position in respect to the fixed stars is called a sidereal year. Okay? So in a sidereal year, the first motion of the earth is 24 hours and 35 minutes. And this is a and it's 24, and there's 360 days in the second movement of the earth, which is the rotation of the earth around the sun, which is the annual orbit, the seasonal orbit. And then, of course, the earth is tilted 23.5 degrees from vertical, which makes it wobble. And one complete wobble is 26,000 years. It's called the phenomenon of precession, or you might read it as the precession of equinox. But now, under this cycle of 24 hours and 35 minutes, it's a perfect calendar. There's only one problem. We don't exist. There's only 6 forms of life: plant, insects, reptiles, water creatures, birds that fly, and animals. Man and woman has not got here yet. Enter calendar number 2. It's called the Jehusian calendar. That's why this is a 3-in-1 calendar. We have the solar, the sidereal, and the lunar, and I superimpose the Gregorian calendar right on top of it to make it a practical calendar, because it's nothing but a plagiarized version of our African calendar anyways. Enter calendar number 2. the 24-hour calendar, which today, every day is 24 hours. So obviously I'm talking about this cycle that we perpetuate today. So Jehuti, so now comes into our cultural spirituality and into the pyramid text, and it tells you that the only thing that separates the sky from the earth, there's only one thing that separates it, and that's light. So that's called day and night, because when the sun rises, the sky, you don't see the stars anymore. You see the sky. And when the sun goes through its transit and sets again, you see the stars. Where did the sky go? You ever ask yourself that question? It's when you start to use your African spirituality. You have to become in tune with these cosmic forces and become with the universal force. So what separates the sky? Where does the sky go? Until the sun rises in the morning. Oh, there she is. And then the sun sets. Where'd she go? So now, Queen Mother, are you still with us? Queen Mother, As Ma'at Tefnut. Can you please put up the schematic, the picture of the Medunetta papyrus text of Nut the sky, Seb the earth, with somebody separating them in the middle? It's either Shu or Kemu. As I go on with the conversation and the narrative, so now the only thing that separates the earth from the sky is light. And every time the sun sets, the sky comes down to the earth. And Seb and Nut, as this happens every day, they're making love generically in our cultural spirituality. Okay? As an atom, as matter, solids, liquids, and gases, and ethereal matter. They're making love. Now Seb, now Ra, they want to have children. But Ra said, there's nothing I can do for you because time has already been allotted for. I can't, there's no room for your children. Enter Jehuti. As we heard in the audio tape that he played, that the Seba played earlier, that Seba Clemens played earlier, got to listen to that tape. Seb petitioned Jehuti to plead with Ra for the allotment of time so that his mate Nut could give birth to the earth Neteru. But Ra was unrelenting. It's the papyrus paper, it's the papyrus vignette or depiction of Nut on the earth, Seb's on the earth, Nut's in the sky, and somebody separating them. Oh, there it is there, the one with nobody separated. Take that one. We'll use that one. And then okay, here it is here. Now when you look at this picture here in the Medunetta, and through our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality, that's mathematics, that's science, spirituality, all matched in one. That's the Jehusian calendar there, because there's nobody separating Shu and Tefnut. I mean, there's nobody separating Seb on the earth and Nut the sky, which means that now Seb can stop shooting blanks and he can have children. So there are 5 children that are born from the womb of Nut and begotten of Seb. They are the first earth netchers, are called the first ancestors. And their names are Heru'er, Asar, Ast, Nebhet, Heru'er, Asar, Sut, Set, Ast, and Nebhet. She's showing you the pictures right now. These are the days that were gained by Lord Jehuti. The 5.25 days that were added on to the 360-day Earth orbit are the days, there it is there. Now, when you see that picture, there's only 24 hours. No, leave it there, Queen Mother. Leave it there. Leave it there. When you see this picture with somebody separating them, that means there's 24 hours and 35 minutes in every day because somebody's separating the sky from the earth. Because Ra said, hey, you can't have no children running around here because there's no time hasn't been allotted for. Enter Jehuti. So Jehuti, so the 6 forms of life: plant, insects, reptiles, water creatures, birds that fly, and animal. That means there's 24 hours and 35 minutes in every day for the first motion of the earth, rotating on its axis. Then it revolves around the sun, 360 days. And then it's tilted 23.5 degrees from vertical, which creates one wobble. Complete wobble is 26,000 years. And that's called the phenomenon of precession as the sun moves through each and every sign of the Zodiac. Okay, now enter the Jehusian calendar. Jehuti waging with Ra for an allotment of time. So Ra needed somebody to name all the forms of life which he had allowed to evolve. And in this way, his works would have meaning. It's in the recording. He was beginning to grow old from the billions and billions of years of existence. He found this task too tedious. A wager was arranged between Ra and Jehuti, with the winner indulging the other. Jehuti would name all the forms of life which Ra had allowed to evolve if he should lose. While should Ra lose, the 35 minutes that exist between the Duat and the Twat would be forfeited in a wager that is known only to the great company of Ptah gods and goddesses. Lord Jehuti was the victor. He claimed his prize. The 35 minutes of time he gained control of even exact cycle of 24 hours, 10 months, 4 weeks, 9 days, totaling 360. The 35 minutes when multiplied by 360 totaled 5¼ days. Added on to a year that still had 8,766 hours. It's on the recording. When you buy your calendar, you get the audio MP3 recording, and you get my book, The Cosmic Egg, aka The Primary Germ.
Yeah.
A journey of 59 plus 21 0. Excuse me, Queen Mother?
You're well. I was telling you your calendar was upside down, but you're good.
Oh. Okay, thank you very much. So now let's get the math here, because we have to apply the mathematics, the sacred math, the sacred science, the divine math, and then we pinnacle it with our cultural spirituality, because there is no science without math, no math without science, and we need our cultural spirituality to equate it all within the all of all, so that we can find out who am I, where do I come from, why am I here, and where am I going? And that's what we're going to discuss now, which is the concept of self-creation. So now we know that the earth rotates on its axis. It revolves around the sun. We know the two mathematical equations, which equates back up to the 26,000 year cycle of that earth. The earth is tilted 23.5 degrees, which makes it wobble. That's the 26,000 year cycle, which is called the phenomenon of precession. Now, the phenomenon is called precession because the zodiac moves clockwise. The clock moves clockwise, but the zodiac precesses. It goes the other way. And it takes 72 years for the sun to precess 1 degree through the great age. We are now dawned on the great golden age of Ptah Asar, which is, is aka Aquarius. I spoke to Samaj Ptah many years ago, and as a comedic coach to assist me in these names, and Samaj Ptah, we know that Aquarius is an air sign, but it is a water bearer. So because it's a water bearer, he became Hapi. And because it's an air sign, we had to relate it to Asar because Pisces is before Asar, which is Uncle Set. We just came out of the great golden age of Pisces, which is Uncle Set. Now, if you don't believe Uncle Set ruled it, we're still slaves for 4,000 years. For 2,160 years, we was in that sign as mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slave. We just opened, the sun has made one complete revolution around the complete zodiac of 26,000 years. We're at year in 2012, on December 21st, the Mayan long count said it would be the end of the world, they thought, but it went to under one cycle and the beginning of another. The Dogons had the same prophecy and the same mathematical equation. There is no ending. A beginning is the end, the end is the beginning. It's perpetual evolution. So now we have to understand this scientifically. You look at the sign of Pisces. And if you look at the sign of Pisces, the symbolism of Pisces is two fish going in opposite direction. But its symbol is two half circles that connect with a line, or it's two half circles that intertwine. This indicates the binary dance between Ra, our sun, and our sister sun, which is Sirius. Ra and Sirius do a dance together. They're binary stars. And when the closest they come together is called, it's a helical rising. It happens every 1,461 years. And then they separate, they go apart, and the furthest away they are is 1,461 years. And this is the dance they do. So that's a true helical rising. A true helical rising is when the sun and the star rises together in unison over the horizon. Today, when the helical rising just passed on July 25th, that we celebrated at the Museum of the National Center for African American Artists, with my brother from the AEO, our birthday, who helped us develop. We had a contingency plan. We set up outside because of COVID. They wouldn't let us in the tomb room. We set up outside. We had a wonderful celebration of the Renpet. We celebrated on the 25th of July on the Gregorian calendar, which is when the star and the sun rises in Giza on the Nilotic meridian, because the snow caps of Kilimanjaro melt. It runs down into the white, and the blue Nile, it turns into the Nile through Khartoum. It comes up and the waters overflow the bank, the inundation. So the first season is inundation. It's not Akert. You look at the Kemetic calendar, they're going to tell you it's Aket. And that's when the Sethians. So what you have to understand when you're looking at things and you're deciphering things, you're trying to figure it out, you have to understand how there was two classes of people on this planet, and there's still only two classes of people. You're either a Shemsu Heru or you're a Shemsu Set. So if you ask me who am I? Who am I? I am a Shemsu Heru. I am a Naga Shemsu Heru. I am a Nesubiti. That's who I am. Why am I here? I mean, who am I? Where do I come from? So you ask the four questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? Who am I? I am a Shemsu Heru, a divine one of Heru, born of Heru and Epederoo, who was born from Asar and As, who came forth from Shu and Tefnu, Sebenut and Shu and Tefnu, and from the direct issue of Ra Nebuchadnezzar. So where do I come from? I come from the direct issue of Ra Nebuchadnezzar, who is the creator of all things, light and radiation and heat movement. Why am I here? I am here to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. Where am I going? I am going to be born, Ranu, as a star, expanding with the universe forever and ever. This is immortality. This is your divine birthright, to live forever. Okay? So now you have to break this down scientifically, mathematically, with your cultural, cosmic, conscious spirituality. Because remember, what we have first is the pyramid text, the Mastaba text in Medunetta. Then we have the pyramid text. And in the pyramid text is of Unas, Teta, Pepi, Daneb, and there's a whole list of pyramid texts, Nesubitis. Okay, then they went to the coffin text. From the coffin.
Brother Ptah.
Yes.
I just want to throw this in here.
Absolutely.
Well, as you are explaining how the ancient Africans put together, you can see that all of the elements of earth, water, sun, fire, all of the different elements come together into the making of human beings, and therefore the makings of all elements on earth. What the Africans did was to put together a philosophy in which they could teach and explain this unification in a way that was mathematically expressed in all things. And so you can see how their philosophy brought all of these elements together into making the first human. And you see they express that we are the elements of water, sun, wind, earth. But at the time, they put these elements together so that you see them expressed mathematically, and you see the principles and balance of Ma'at and how to live. All of this comes out of their philosophy of how the universe operates. And it is built into us. You know, when you look at how they explain, how they taught it, and these temples they created, perpetuated these teachings and understandings, so that I'm just saying this because I appreciate what you're doing.
Absolutely, I'm with you, Siba. Yes.
We are going deeper and deeper. And
yes,
I say we have to know who we are. We have to know our story. And
yes,
when we know our story, everything else, we begin to
exactly.
so evil.
Yes.
You know, Professor Evo, that's what he's expressing.
Absolutely.
Mathematical
Absolutely.
form, exactly what you were saying.
Right. And
And
I'm only here to compliment Dr. Gabriel Yiva with his GIJ, comma J equals 0. Because in my book that I have a book called The Cosmic Egg, aka The Primeval Germ, a journey of 59 plus 21 zeros. And in our book, we have the RSGUT, which is the Rosarian Star Grand Unification Theorem, which is E plus P equals L. E is energy, and energy in Medunetta is ner, water sign in the mouth. Plus P is power. Power in Medunetta is usa, equals life or unk, but it actually means being. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to discuss that right now, because most people think that the unk means life, and it does in its own way. But we're going to break this down mathematically, as Gabriel Evil does, scientifically, as Gabriel Evil does. But now we're going to place our cultural, cosmic, conscious spirituality, as Dr. Kaba Kabamini assisted Gabriel Evil in his dissemination of, disseminating this information. They brought in the Kemanu, and a new Ankaket, Nununet, Kekaket, Hehet. But now we're going to break this down into its lowest common denominator. Please start to flash some of the green pictures, Queen Mother Goddess. So when we break down the origins of existence and the creation and development of the universe, we have to understand that everything comes out of the all of alls. And this is called, in Amedunetta, the primeval ocean of nothingness. So if you was to express nothingness mathematically or numerically, you would have to use 0, because in this 0 you got the nothingness. So when the Greeks and the Romans saw 0, they saw nothing. But when we see 0, we see everything, because this is where everything is, was, and shall be is contained. It's called the all of alls, the holy of holiest. So as we begin to break it down scientifically, we know we call this, they have 5 terms to call the all of alls. They call it nu, they call it the primeval ocean of nothingness. They call it dark energy. They call it oblivion, and they call it the cosmological constant. Okay, we're only talking about one thing, the all of alls, where everything is, was, and shall be is contained. So there is a picture that's in my book. That is a picture of oblivion. And it says that oblivion is a place of perpetual continuance, where particles of existence are reduced to its lowest common denominator, invisible strings and strands. It is a form of existence that connects the concept of subspansion and expansion. Its boundaries are endless and ever-reaching, indicating that it is the outer cover of this universe of radiation and light, and the inner cover that encloses this universe of dualism. This is the place of the all of alls, the holy of holies, that sandwiches the universe of radiation and light. This qualifies it as the place or plane where matter can be reduced, absorbed, and then stored for the purpose of continuous perpetuation, where particles of the light and radiation are collected for the redistribution process of continuous evolutions. This is how our ancestors perceived, related, and also equated oblivion. Oblivion is the capacitor of capacitance. Capacitance is the ability to collect and store energy. This energy that is collected can also be released or discharged. From this energy that is collected and discharged comes the laws of attraction and repulsion. Harmonic strings and strands represent the quantum result of the total decimation of the atom, leaving behind invisible electron lines of the magnetic flux. So when we talk about oblivion scientifically, we can relate to it in this manner. So we know that oblivion is the primeval ocean of nothingness. So now inside this primeval ocean of nothingness exists these beings. This is the cultural spirituality part now. You can close your eyes and you can see energy, thought, feeling, and non-motion. This is called perpetual continuance. They existed and they're called the ancient ones. They're called the Ogdads. And inside this, and they're called the Kemenu. And inside this primeval ocean of nothingness, they exist as energy, thought, feeling, and non-motion. So the creator, who is the son of Nu, who we call Nebuchadnezzar, but who we call today Ra Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, we call him Ra Nebuchadnezzar Ra. Nebuchadnezzar, Neb means Lord, Tesha means holy, means great. They said in Medunetta, he is the most holy Lord, the great holy Lord. So this is on the pyramid text. It's on in front of the stela of Herukuti, or you call the Sphinx. There's a dream stela of Jehutimes, or Thutmose IV. On the second register down in Medunetta, reading from left to right, you'll see the word Nebuchadnezzar with a man holding a stick. So even Jehutimes knew of Nebuchadnezzar. Ptolemy in his text mentions Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar it followed us from the beginning to the to when we lost control, became Hellenized and lobotomized. So why nobody in the Kemetic community even mentions Nebuchadnezzar, I don't know. But I'm going to bring it up today so that everybody can understand who this Nebuchadnezzar is. So now we have to understand in science they have dark energy and they have dark matter. Okay, how did they find about this dark matter, dark energy? Because they have the Kobe satellite. Everybody, all you got to do is Google CBR. CBR stands for Cosmic Background Radiation or Cosmic Background Microwave Radiation. The Hubble telescope has a cousin. It's called Kobe, Cosmic Observatory Background Explorer. And somebody show us the picture of the cosmic egg, please, Queen Mother. And somebody said at NASA, what would happen if we turned the satellite to the deepest part of the void of deep dark cold space? So they turned the camera and they zoomed in with the resolution. You know what they found? They found an egg-shaped anomaly. And because of its red and blue heat signature, they know it to be the origins of subatomic space. It is the molecular appearance from the source of all creation, meaning because of its red and blue heat signature, it is the origins of subatomic space. Okay? So now, this is now we're breaking it down with these pictures here. So now on board of Kobe, they have spectral photometers, which are heat signatures. They pick up heat signatures. So as they're looking at the egg-shaped anomaly, which they call cosmic background radiation, who we call the cosmic egg, my ancestors in the pyramid text called it Ra Nebuchadnezzar, the Ankh. On the top of the Ankh, there's an egg. So my ancestors knew of this egg-shaped anomaly 5 million years ago. They just found it in 1989 with the Kobe satellite. So now they're looking at the satellite with the Kobe satellite, looking at the anomaly with the Kobe satellite, and all of a sudden the resolution started to blur. So they're trying to fix the resolution and it blurs again. So that's the cosmic egg that's in the book. So what they did was they fashioned the heat signature around it, and they're picking up a heat signature. They don't know what it is, but it's there. They call it dark energy. This is where dark energy comes from. Okay, it came from the spectrophotometers aboard the satellite, Kobe satellite, that was taking the pictures of the cosmic egg right there. And that's a real picture, by the way. That's a real picture from NASA. Okay, that is the creator. That is the physical essence of the creator. It's a he, and it's a he, she. Our creator is masculine and feminine. He's androgynous. He has the masculine and the feminine energy all the time. We're going to break this down for you. So now they're picking up this heat signature, and they say, well, that's dark energy. Now they got dark energy and they got the egg, something now is disturbing it even more. So they got to isolate it, pick the resolution, and as they're doing that, they pick up another heat signature. It's called dark matter. This is where dark matter comes from. They're heat signatures that was picked up by the Kobe satellite, so that you can understand it. So when you Google it, you're going to see it. So now, what is dark matter? Dark matter we call in our book interference. It's universal capacitance. It's universal ma'at. Most people know ma'at on the terrestrial plane. You know, what is truth, what is right, what is straightforward, what is justifiably great, reciprocity, whatever you want to call it. I look at it cosmically. If you can't explain ma'at cosmically, just step aside and let the cosmic people take it to you. Now, universal ma'at means, universal ma'at is interference. Interference is the principle or spirit that is the one constant. that affects change in the ever-changing universe. It is the spirit of continuation and development. It is the force that causes change and alteration. It is unceasing, unalterable, and always at work. Water, that is found in three forms, solid, liquid, and gases, are elements that bears witness to interference. Changes in nature occur at random, caused by storm, drought, or environmental relapse. Interference is all of these things. It is the reasons for the colors of light. It is the reasons that radiation radiates. It is the master of death. It cannot die. There is no force in the universe that is older than this. Before radiation, there was only oblivion. And the spirit of interference existed then. This spirit cannot be isolated from anything. It has something to do with everything. Now we know what dark energy is. We know what dark matter is. Let's talk about the egg-shaped anomaly called the cosmic egg. What is the cosmic egg? They call it in science radiation. Radiation is an energy form that is the result of a supernatural phenomenon, a universal metamorphosis involving beginnings and endings. It is the molecular appearance from the source of all creation. It is the force that drives the universe to expand outwardly and uniformly. It is a living, growing force, and because of this, it was thought to be a germ, the germ of life, the primeval germ of existence. Gravity. Now we're going to break this down first. We're going to break down the four attributes of manifestation of Ra Nebuchadnezzar Teshera and equate it to the four primordial field forces of electromagnetism, strong force, gravity, and the weak force. And then we're going to base it all upon the Medunetta text of the Zeb Tepi. That's in the pyramid text, and the Mastaba text is even on the Shabaka stone. It's in all the texts. The chapter of knowing the evolutions of Ra and the overthrowing of the Pepi and the Bahrain papyrus. It's there. It's always duplicated there. And if we look onto the pyramid text and our spirituality, I'm just going to bring this all together for you real quick, Siva. So we definitely attack this and identify this scientifically, mathematically, and with our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality, with astrology and astronomy and the Medunetta, they have absolute accountability and star validation because there is no spookism in our story. Our story is designed specifically through all the science, all the math, and our cultural spirituality with the stars and everything. So nobody can stop that spookism crap, okay? So now in the text, in the Medunetta text, in the pyramid text, it goes, I am. And this is where they got this story of the I am. You ever notice when you hear, I am that I am? That's the Greeks. The Greeks are fond of logic. They're always corrupted, plagiarizing, but this is how originally it went. I am he, she, who existed in the primeval ocean of nothingness, eons and eons of evolutions ago, before the beginnings of time. When I thought that the moment had come, I fashioned my mouth and I uttered my name as a word of power. With this power that was my birthright, I fashioned myself in forms from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. I was alone at this time. There were none others with me then. I am the beginnings of time which began when I took form and commanded the power. Now it came to pass that I found no place upon which I could stand. So I straightway brought forth from my own mind and thoughts the primeval mound from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. Being that I was alone at this time, it pleased me to make others. So I went from being nature 1 to nature 3. I made these beings in a manner in which all things are made. I, Ra, Nebuchadnezzar Teshera, Ra, the he, the she, the mother and father of all existence, I embraced my shadow and I grasped my member and I loved myself. I issued forth the nature Shu and I multiplied his forms millions and millions of times. I gathered a portion of the remains and I swallowed them and I spat forth Tefnut. They are my heart and soul, twins, born of the same birth. And when you find the one, you find the three, for the three is of the one, and the one is of the three. Shu and Tefnut had union. And they gave birth to Seb the earth and Nut the sky. And in similar manner, I multiplied their forms millions and millions of times. Seb and Nut had children, had union, and they gave birth to the earth Neteroos. Their names are Heru, Asar, Sut, As, and Nebhet. Heru and Heteru gave birth to the Shemsu Heru. Mestahapi, Twamotef, and Quebsinu. And when all this was done and all manner of things that came into being, I placed each and all manner of things that came into being that creep, crawl, fly, and manifest I placed each and every black hole, constellation, star, and thing of being where they're now found, and together their movements give meanings to my work, and their movement is no drain on my power. It is I, Ra Nebuchadnezzar, who issue forth the order of existence. So that's how it's done in the pyramid text, and it also reproduces itself in the Shabaka stone, in the Kemenu, in the Heliopolis text, in the Hermopolis text. I use those Greek terms for the cities, and of course in the Theban text, and it's on the Rhine papyrus of knowing the evolutions of Ra and the overthrowing of Pepi for those scholars who want to do their research. Or you can read my book, aka Primeval Germ, The Cosmic Egg, aka The Primeval Germ, A Journey of 59 plus 21 0. So let's put it together here. We got the cultural spirituality. Now let's put it to the science. Let's put it to the test with the sacred science and the divine math, so we have absolute accountability and style validation, because nobody's talking about Nebuchadnezzar. Nobody, I ask the Kemetic people who you believe in, they don't even know. They tell me it's Amen Ra. Amen Ra is a star date. In the temple of Luxor, they have an avenue of sphinxes that's orientated to the spring equinox. When the constellation of Amen, which is Aries, the constellation of Aries, which is Amen, when the sun came in with that constellation, Amen became Amen Ra. It's just like the Shabaka stone. On the Shabaka stone, Ptah is the supreme being. But we know Ptah cannot be the supreme being because Ptah occupies the second attribute of manifestation of Ra Nebuchadnezzar and the second primordial field force, which is the strong force. Ptah is the strong force, and he's the second attribute of manifestation because Ra Nebuchadnezzar took 4 forms. He's Temu, which means to think. Temu and Medunetta means to plan. Temu and Medunetta means thought. Is equated to mentalism, and we equate that scientifically to electromagnetism. Then we know energy that's collected, absorbed, and then stored must be released because movement is a requirement, and the separation of the collective energy contained within a motionless cold void, such as Nu, the primary ocean of nothingness, dark energy, the cosmological constants over oblivion, which we just went through. Which all we're talking about is the cosmic egg, and I'm sorry, 1 second, please. Okay. And so now let's put it together. You got the 4 attributes of manifestation of Ra Nebuchadnezzar, and first he became Temu, because in the text he says, when I thought the moment had come. He's telling you in that meta text in a rhyme and rhythm that he's telling you the rhyme and rhythm that first, so here we have the pictures there. So so in order for you to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being, 4 things have to happen. First, you must release yourself. Then you must seek out yourself. Overcome the sensation of weightlessness. Embrace my art within yourself, and you will acquire this ability to experience the phenomenon of being. So all we're doing right now, we're going to replicate a process in which the creator, him, herself, did to separate him and herself from the primary ocean of nothingness. So now the first thing you learn is his name or her name, because name in Medunetta is the mouth with the water sign, Ren. Ren means name. But if you turn it around, you got the water sign in the mouth, and that means Nur. And Nur means energy. So now we're starting to pull it together. Like I say, without adding the Medunetta into the equation, you'll never produce the proper variant. So we know the creator spoke his name or her name as a word of power. That power that was his birthright, she said she came into form. So now, as the creator, energy that is collected, absorbed, and then stored must be released. So when the creator spoke his or her name, he first says in the Medunetta text, when I thought that the moment had come. So you got to ask yourself, wow, how does time come? I know how human beings come, how a man and a woman might come. I know there might be an event down the street, a car sale is coming, or a big party is coming. I know a lot of things come, but how does time come? Now you go back to your primordial text and your primordial discipline, because you know energy that is collected, absorbed, and then stored must be released. is called capacitance and overcapacitant. When things are overcapacitated and they're stored in it, it has to be released. So the Creator said, when I thought. So he just laid and thought and waited for the moment to come for that energy to be released. And this is when the Ogdads come in. This is when the ancient ones comes in. Remember, they exist in energy they exist as beings of energy, thought, feeling, and non-motion. Everything is non-motion now because it's perpetual continuance. And to the Creator, he joins up with the ancient ones, and there 8 of them. They encircle him like the Indians go around the pole. Here we go. Or you go in the southern. Here we go around the mulberry bush. You're churning, or the baby churning inside the woman's womb. And when the Creator thought the moment had come, she fashioned their mouth and uttered his name, her name as a word of power, and he straightway came into being. So when he pronounced his name as in the form of Temu, the first attribute, the door opens up. Just how we know it's Ptah is the second attribute, because Ptah in Medunetta means the door. In Medunetta, Ptah means to open. He or she who opens. So this energy that is released opens the door. So obviously Ptah is the second attribute of manifestation around Epiteroo, which becomes equated to the second primordial field force, which is the strong force. So now Ptah, he opens up the Ptah, and now the Creator releases himself. And now when he releases himself, herself he comes out as a strand. This is when they add in the scientific equation of astrophysics and quantum mechanics, or the macro and the micro, the string and the strand theorem. So now the Creator is nothing but a little string, and he's fluctuating. And all the time, Oblivion, Nu, the primary ocean of nothingness, Dr. Energy is pulling them back in, pulling him and her back in. So the Creator, so remember, first you must release yourself. Then you have to seek out yourself. So what the Creator did, the Creator was this little string, like bigger than a hair in your arm. And the Creator embraces interference, which is universal capacitance of universal ma'at, and becomes electrically charged. So we're talking science here. We're talking mathematics here, along with the cultural, cosmic, conscious spirituality. So this way here, nobody can refute this. It's irrefutable. Okay? So now the Creator is the one little string, and she becomes electrically charged. And one end of the string, shown the picture, Queen Mother, the green picture, one end of the string splits into 2, and the other end of the string splits into 2. That's the masculine and feminine property. It's like putting something in the socket in the wall. You need the 2 plugs. That's what it looks like. Now the Creator begins to seek him, herself out. So the Creator begins to twist as that string, twist and turn. And the Creator becomes this egg-shaped anomaly. This is the egg. So now the Creator, so now enter primordial field force number 3, or the third attribute of manifestation, because now the Creator says in the Medunetta text, always go back to your Medunetta text when you're confused. The Creator said, I found, now it came to pass that I found no place upon which to stand. So I straightway brought forth from my own mind the thoughts the primeval mind from out of the primeval of nothingness. So remember, the Creator she had to overcome a sensation of weightlessness. It was a feeling that she did not desire. He had no place. She had no place of. Don't mind me. I'm so masculine and dogmatic. I keep saying he, but I really mean he, she. Our Creator has the masculine and feminine combined, so everybody keep that in mind. So now the Creator becomes this egg-shaped anomaly, because the Creator said, I found no place upon which to stand, so I brought forth the primeval mound from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. So now the Creator becomes Amen. Amen in Medunetta means the hidden one. Scientifically, Amen represents gravity, and also represents that T square that you see in Gardner's sign list that you think is a raised loaf. It's not a raised loaf. That's the primordial mound. Stop listening to Gardner. I studied Gardner 50 years ago. I studied Bowles, Bremstead, Reisner, unilateral, bilateral, trilateral, alphabetical, phonetical, determinatives. All that's kid stuff. We've been doing that since we was kids. Stop following these European teachers and learn how to express yourself through your cultural spirituality. And then you'll see it as the mound. And you'll see the concept of self-creation. Now we have gravity and the third attribute of manifestation. Here's Rod Epiteroo right there. Now the white figure that's standing in the middle with the white legs, that's Ptah. There's a man, there's an elbow above. You see the elbow, the guy thinking, that's Temu. The two legs walking, standing out is Amen. And the beetle is Kepra, with the sun disk representing atomic energy. Kepra becomes the fourth attribute of manifestation, which in science becomes the fourth field force, which is this weak force, which is atomic energy, which is the expanding universe. So we're pulling all this together. Now let me just link the end of it for you, so we all get this. And when you start to see, you understand the concept of self-creation. And we know that. So it says scientifically and mathematically, it says, in the beginning, there is energy, and its name is oblivion. In the end, there is energy. Its name also is oblivion. Life is derived from power. Power is the result of energy. This is the RSGUT, the Asarian star grand unification theorem. X-electron, which we call Ra-Nebuchadnezzar scientifically, because there's only one thing that bounds, that we have one common denominator in this whole universe. That is the electron. Okay? We call the creator X-electron. X-electron, after releasing, freeing, or discharging from oblivion, new to primary ocean, nothing's dark energy, or the cosmological constant, whatever one of the terms you want to use, became a source of power. But because this power was dissipating, form and shape was necessary for containment, and the feeling of weightlessness then must be overcome. By the controlled emissions of waves and rays of magnetic subatomic particles in all directions after taking shape, these two basic needs were met. This is the origins of subatomic space. This is our story of the self-creation of Ra-Nebuchadnezzar. Energy that was lost and now being spent was in need of replacement. This created hunger and a need for replenishment. All the energy was now being dispersed outwardly, allowing form and shape within the newly formed egg, until it was forced to expand beyond itself. This created a great explosion that hurled shell bits of magnetic subatomic particles, egg fragments, expanding the void of deep dark cold space as they traveled until finally reaching the heliopause, where they just couldn't go no further. And they collapsed upon themselves because they experienced gravity and became and embraced interference. They exploded into gamma orbs, which created another ring. There was two explosions. And this ring here it creates a gamma ring, which encompasses the egg. This is called the innerverse. And these gamma orbs are exploding in intervals. One gamma orb is the equivalent to 1 million supernovas. Supernovas when a star implodes upon it. When a star implodes upon itself and explodes, that's a supernova. Well, one gamma orb is the equivalent to 1 million supernovas, and there's trillions upon billions upon millions upon these gamma orbs that are exploding inside of this universe, which is subatomic. And this energy is surging inwards, recycling the egg. It becomes self-sufficient. Some of this energy that is not recycled inwards is released outward beyond the gamma rings as bits of pure antimatter upon embracing interference again develops in a nursery. It develops in a region we call the nursery of the stars as dark body radiation, black holes, or galaxies. These dark body radiation, black holes, or galaxies are pushed away from the innerverse and is the realization of the outerverse. These dark body radiations produce atomic energy, light, stars, planet, moons, and life forms, till all the above mentioned energy once again into oblivion. These forces will adjust, propel, and expand the continuous perpetual evolutions of the expanding universe. And to cap the final of this, I would like to explain gravity, since no one knows how to explain gravity. Gravity, contrary to popular opinion, Einstein, Isaac Newton, and Stephen Hawking, is not just action from a distance proceeding from masses, or the force that attracts two celestial objects to one another. Gravity is the result of antimatter collapsing upon itself, producing gamma explosion, which release nuclear energy inwards and outwards. The energy that is released inwards was and always shall be absorbed by the self-created one, Ra-Nebuchadnezzar. The energy that is released outward beyond the gamma rings is bits of pure antimatter, but embracing interference developed in a region we call the nursery of the stars, as dark body radiation, black holes, and galaxies. These dark body radiation, black holes, and galaxies are pushed away from the innerverse. It is the realization from the outerverse. These dark body radiation, black holes, and galaxies produce atomic energy, light, stars, planet, moons, and life forms, to all the above mentioned energy. Once again, into oblivion. These forces will adjust, propel, and expand the continuous perpetual evolution of the expanding universe. And I think I've said enough for right now, and I send it back to you, Siba. Clement.
Okay. I think this is a good start for us. I want to get some of the footage that we did with Professor Ebo because
Drink something, Siba. Take a drink of some fluid. Take your time. Take your time. We don't need nothing to happen to you. Take your time. Drink some juice. Okay, we love you, though. Okay, take your time. It's more important that you drink your juice first.
So we're talking about his peer review.
Yes.
I documented that.
Yes.
And one of the things that became contention was that the expanding universe. Professor Ebo was saying that the universe isn't expanding. And Professor Singh from India challenged him on that. And that was a big contention until finally, you know, they went through their mathematics and so forth. And Professor asked the question, if the universe is expanding, because the universe is all space, it encompasses all space.
Yes, you have the field forces. It breaks the field forces down. If we look at our cultural spirituality, just look at the symbol of Kepra. Kepra in Meduneta means evolver of evolution. He or she evolves. Kepra always has the sun disk on his head, which represents atomic energy, which represents the expanding universe. So I concur with the other guy. If he says the universe is expanding, so do I.
So he asked the question, since the universe has no beginning and no ending, it is all space make up the universe. He said, where is the universe expanding to? What do you call the space that the universe is?
Okay. Exactly.
Everybody was quiet.
Good question. I can tell you what it is.
And then somebody in the back said, Prof, that's space too. And everybody
yes, it
clapping
is.
because
yes, it is.
That challenge was over.
Exactly.
And that is what Western science claims the expanding universe. But their whole concept of the expanding universe
is Hellenized.
Wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. So, I'm going to bring you that challenge.
Sure.
So you can hear it and see it for yourself.
So before you bring it to me, let me just say that when you know that that there's no beginning, there's no energy, so you have to applicate these principles, these cosmic principles, in which it's like this. How do we know that the sun is an atomic atom? Because it has a proper proton, neutron, surrounded by the nucleus, has an electron, right? That's atomic energy. Okay. Now, when the sun shines its light down on anything on this planet or anywhere around it, any physical object, which is called matter, solids, liquids, and gases, it will create a shadow, right? If the sun shines down on this like here, it's going to create a shadow. So now you ask yourself, what is the shadow? You see it every day. You never ask yourself what the shadow is. Nobody knows what the shadow is. But I bet you that heat picks up to 120 degrees, you're going to jump in that shadow and get some shade, cool off, right? Okay, so that shadow. So now if the sun, the way you answer the question is, if the sun is atomic energy, it shines its radiant light down upon anything, creates a shadow. So the shadow has to be subatomic. This is the difference when you understand the concept of self-creation as it is revealed within the pyramid text, the Shabaka stone, the Kemenul, every other text. It's all talking about universal dualism. This is the laws of universal dualism. The two key players are radiation and light. Within the universe, these two supply it with heat and movement. Radiation and light are the forces that allow uniform expansion and is the reason why the universe is expanding. Without an understanding of these two forces, the universe is without explanation. They are mirrored images of each other, different only in their limitations. And from these two forces comes the laws of universal dualism. Now, to explain that part of the void within the void, when you said that where did that void, that space go to, that's called the void. One void is oblivion. One void is new. It's new. New is the primeval ocean of nothingness. You could call it dark energy, oblivion, cosmological constant, whatever you want. But it's the all of alls, where everything is, was, and shall be is contained. It's called the primeval ocean of nothingness. Inside this nothingness, there are beings of energy, thought, feelings, and non-motion. To see these beings, all you got to do is close your eyes. And you'll see these beings. You'll see this pulsation. You'll see a pulsation. This is inside the oblivion. But now, because we have to understand, when you break this down scientifically and mathematically, you understand the light. And you know the light's moving at 198 miles per second. But light is not the fastest moving phenomenon. There's something that moves faster than light, and that's thought. Thought moves faster than light because we know that the universe is expanding. Atomic energy, these dark body radiations, black holes, or galaxies are expanding the universe. Now, what are they expanding from? And science says that when you go backwards far enough, you're going to reach what they call the Byron plasma barrier. Google it. Byron plasma barrier is when atomic energy cannot go any further because now you reach the innerverse. So the expanding universe is the outerverse. That's the Kepler, the domain of Kepler. The innerverse is subatomic. The light cannot exist there as a stable atom. Light cannot exist in the innerverse because the innerverse is that ring that encompasses the cosmic egg. That's subatomic. That's gamma on the X-ray level. Okay, so now you're able to comprehend the difference, the barrier. So once you have the barrier, now you know there's the egg. So you got the outer verse is a void, and the inner verse produced that void, which is the egg, but all of it is being encompassed by oblivion. So this is the void within the void, and that void sandwiches the region of radiation and light. That's what we say it sandwiches radiation and light. This qualifies this place of void of voids as this qualifies it as the place that contains the radiation and light. So here we go into the story. When the creator in the pyramid text, you got to bring it back to the pyramid text. Other than that, it's back to that God thing. Everybody brings God into the theory. It got nothing to do with God. Once you bring God's word up, you're bringing religion in. That's a violation. I'm from a new age order, and I respect all my elders. I respect them all. But at this moment here, once you bring a word God up, you cross the line. Because God is the reason we're in the predicament we are now. That means religion. That means his story. We're not even talking about his story. We're talking about our story. All I'm asking the elders to do, can we stick to the narrative? The narrative is our story. Once you change the narrative from our story to history, you start relating creation to the Bible, you're a violator in this new age order of the great golden age of Ptah Asar. So, but to break it all down, let's just all figure out, let's just break it this way down, because I don't want to go that route. Here we go. This is called the precession. This is called the phenomenon of the precession, or the precession of equinox, which moves counterclockwise to the clock. Now there's 2,160 years in each sign. Each sign is 2,100, 2,100, 2,100, 2,000. It comes to 12 signs. 2 times 12 is 24, and 1 is 25. Comes out to 26,000 years. So here we are. Here we are in the great golden age of Pisces, which we call Uncle Set. Now that's 2,160 years. Chronologically speaking, we know this is year 2020. So you count back 2,020 years, you got year 0. So before you get to 0, you're AD. They call it Ani Domini. You're using a Gregorian chronological timeline. This is a methodological start timeline. But I'm going to bring you to the chronological timeline just so you can understand how they keep time. How we keep time and they keep time. So here you are, you got Uncle Set, 2,161 years, we count back, is the great golden age of Pisces. Because we count time through the great golden ages. They got a Gregorian chronological time that can only go back to the year 754 BCE or AUC. I'm telling you, Google it. Go on your computer and you'll see they can't go back no further in chronological timeline but 754 AUC. Then they tell you the Kush Kings are 1000 BC. They ruled Kemet for 700 years. Before that, they hypothesized that Akhenaten was 100 years before that. That's 1700 BCE. Then they say the pyramids are 4,500 years, plus add 2,000 for Jesus for 2020. So that's 6,000 years. So they're going to tell us that our history, our story, is 6,000 years old. When now let me just add some rationality, some science, some math, and some cultural spirituality on the methodological star timeline of the Epederoo Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat. And you see here is Uncle Set, which is Pisces, 2,160 years. Remember, we're precessing. So, but we got to go forward now. But the precession is going this way. But let's precess to the great golden age of Aries. So we know Aries is our men. How do we know Aries is our men? Because in Luxor, in the Karnak temple of Luxor, they have an avenue of sphinxes. And these avenue of sphinxes are facing to a spring equinox. There's an avenue of sphinxes with ram heads facing to the spring equinox. And when the sun came down that alignment and that was the great golden age of Amen. And when the sun came with it, he became Amen Ra. So it's Amen Ra's a star date. Now let's hold on a minute. We go back 2,160 more years. We're in the great golden age of Taurus. Now the Shabaka stone was found in the temple of Menepha. And in Menepha, they worship Ptah and they mummified the bull. And the orientation of the temple of Luxor, its orientation of his walls is orientated to the spring equinox of the constellation of Taurus, in Greek Hellenistic terms, but we know it as the constellation of Ptah. So that's another. So we go 2,000 years, 2,000 for Pisces, 2,000 for Aries, 2,000 for Taurus. Now we hit Gemini. We don't find no archaeological remains, or we haven't been able to do the research ourselves. But now we get the beetle. That's 2,000 more years. That's 2, 4, 6. That's 8,000 years. Now we get to the beetle, and we know the beetle. The Greeks just turned the Kepra. They turned the beetle into a crab. So we know Cancer is Kepra. Okay, that's 10,000 years. Now we go 2 more thousand years, and we have Herukuti, which they call the Sphinx. And 12,000 years ago, showing the picture of the Sphinx, looking at his image in the sky, please, Queen Mother Goddess, Asma'at, Tefnut. We know 12,000 years ago, the Sphinx was looking at his image in the sky. The constellation of Leo rose on the spring equinox 12,000 years ago, and Herukuti, which we call the Sphinx, is looking at itself as above, so below. That was 12,000 years ago. So that means that they say, so we're talking 12,000 years, but that, like we talked earlier in the show, that 12,000 years ago was an ice age, because paleoclimatology tells us that 12,000 years ago was an ice age. So when the ice caps melt, they're now inundated. I mean, the oceans rose. So the Sphinx is down in the bottom part of the Giza Plateau, because the pyramids are up on the plateau. The Sphinx is down in Herukuti is down in the enclosure. So right near the bed of the river now. And so the water rose up to his neck. So we know that it couldn't have been built then. So you got to go back around the phenomenon of precession, 26,000 years. Add the 12,000 we did to get back to there. That's 38,000 years. And that's just being conservative. Okay, so once you learn how to tell cosmic time, show them the picture, please, Queen Mother, of the spring equinox, so that everybody can see this before we close out, so that they can see with their own eyes how our ancestors told time. And you can use the pyramid of a picture of the pyramid with the star shafts pointing to the circumpolar stars. The never set. There we go. There. That's the great golden age of Herukuti, which they call Leo. That picture there. Can you get a better picture of it? That's the picture of the spring equinox. Right now, at the bottom of that picture, where that black is, right there we go, right there. That's the sun dawning. Now, bring it back, and where the black is, the constellation of Pisces fell below the horizon in 2012. It will not be visible again for another 24,000 years. You will never see it on the spring equinox, at the dawning of the spring equinox. You will not see it for 26,000 years. Now, you look to the right, there's an ecliptic plane. There's an ecliptic line moving from the sun going up to the right. You'll see that's Aquarius, which is Ptah Asar. That constellation will be there for 2,160 years, whether you're here or not. It doesn't matter if you're here or not. That's where it's going to be. So this is how you know. So that's called the first heliacal rising. The first heliacal rising happens on the Gregorian calendar on March 21st. In the morning, if you get up on 2021, on March 21st, you get up in the morning and look east on a clear day, you'll see that the constellation of Pisces is no longer there. We're no longer transitioning. We're in the age of Ptah Asar, which you know is Aquarius. Okay, now this is how we recalibrate time. Now, showing the picture of the pyramid with the star shaft pointing to the circumpolar stars, which is Theban, Draco, Vega, and Polaris, and of course, Cepheus. Now, this is when Cepheus, when you was talking about Cepheus earlier, that picture right there. This is the where Cepheus is. It's called Tawa Works. That's when the sun passes through the center of the Milky Way galaxy in 2012. But Cepheus is moving with Polaris, Theban, Draco, and Vega. Okay, 6,500, 6,500, 6,500, 6,500 comes out to 26,000 years using them four. But now Cepheus has to come into the equation, as my good brother Seba Clemens Brown has told us about Cepheus. We must take Cepheus into the equation as the variant, because Cepheus is the one that heralds the resurrection of the melanated person to control this planet again. So we're in the process of adding this in our mathematical equation, and so that everything fits in with the prophecies. But once you understand that the northern star shaft points to the circumpolar stars, the never setting stars, that's how we know where we're located on the galactic elliptic plane of our quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy, which simply means where we're moving, what sign we're in on the great phenomenon of precession. And that is mirrored at the spring equinox. Okay, so the spring equinox and the northern star shaft tells you where you're moving through the 26,000 year cycle. And the southern star shaft points to Pleiades, Orion, constellation of Orion, and Sirius. And this indicates the annual orbit of the Earth around the sun. So once we're able to pull this together, you can understand how to tell true time. Now, the Kemetic family wants to say that this is 6,470 Samatawi, which I myself would tell you is ludicrous. Okay, it's ludicrous because you just use your slave master's chronological timeline to count backwards to find your origins. So that's the most craziest thing I ever heard. How can you even use your slave master's anything for anything but to become a slave? So when you're able to know that we just dawned upon the great golden age of Ptah, we don't even need books right now to tell you what time it is. All you got to do, you've lived through two great golden ages. The great golden age of Pisces, which is Uncle Set. We dawned out of that on 2012. Pisces is no longer visible on the horizon, so we're no longer in the constellation of Pisces. We're living in the great golden age of Ptah Asar, which is Aquarius. So they say this is the Lion's Gate. They say when the golden lotus opens, do not close your eyes. Right now, everybody's eyes is closed. We're passing through two great golden ages. We just made a 26,000 year cycle around the phenomenon of precession, and we don't even know how to tell time. So I just wanted to bring that up right there. I just want to run them through that, and I send it right back to you, Steve. But I know we've been on here for like almost 3-4 hours. I don't know how much time we have. I got all day. I'm with you.
Well, let me say this.
Hello. Are we still broadcasting?
I'm still here, Seba.
Oh, okay, good. Let me just say this. We've been talking about mathematics and the accuracy of mathematics. Now, if you have an expanding universe. And you can look mathematically, or you can chart mathematically any point in space. You can deal with it for millions of years, literally, mathematically. And the cycle of the universe will mathematically be the same, just like you can count on 26,000 years to be where it is every year for the 26,000 years. If it was expanding, it would be different. It would, because it would be expanding, so it could not be in the same mathematical position because it is expanding. So everything would be pulling away and moving further apart. And I understand your subatomic energy and so forth, but all of that would be affected as well. I just want to give that, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. But just remember that we are part of the Milky Way galaxy. Oh,
yeah, I know. So, you know, you can't have.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You can't have it both ways. It's mathematically accurate as you have laid out, but it can't be expanding because if it was expanding, mathematically everything would be moving away, and you couldn't have a mathematical.
But moving away is expanding. So what we have to understand.
Look, yeah, everything is, but it is contained within the. Let me put it to you this way: the light from the sun, 92 million miles away, reaches the Earth in what?
6 hours. 6 hours. Yes.
Now, that's a snail's speed. As you say, thought is much faster.
Yes.
Than light. But the creation, or the vibrations from the creation, are everywhere, which are billions and billions and billions and light years away in diameter, because they cover space. So the vibrations from the creator is all space at the same time. I mean, it's moving so fast, it's unthinkable. And as that vibration condenses, it condenses into the hydrogen atom, which is space. Hydrogen is the what do you call it? It's the stable.
The stable atom. The stable atom.
The stableness of all of these of the components and particles, because if you break down the atom, you can get quarks and leptons and all that. But those are they're the elements that make up the atom, but they're not stable. The atom is stable, and the atom is your first form matter. As you say, the sun is
hydrogen.
It's hydrogen. It's the atom. So you can't have, you know, if you have expansion going on, it wouldn't be mathematically.
Yes, but right. I understand what you're saying, but you have to always understand you cannot be one-dimensional. You cannot just look at things mathematically.
You're not. It goes in all directions.
Okay, so let's put it to
you know, you look at subatomic, and what Professor Evo does is he breaks down mathematically all of these elements and forces, the weak, the strong, and is able to compensate their mathematical expressions with
Yes.
the grand unified.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what makes his work phenomenal.
Absolutely.
That's
I
what
have
everyone's trying to do.
nothing but true. I have nothing but honorable respect for Dr. Gabriel Yebo.
They couldn't come up with the equation, but he did. So, but you know, hey, I'm looking forward to continuing this out.
Yes. That's
And I'll see if he will participate
sure.
with us on some
Absolutely. I would love to be in the
conversation.
presence of the great Seba, the great mathematician, Dr. Gabriel Yebo, and GIJ, comma J equals 0, which I think is a masterful equation because he took all the periodical tables of elements, the 118 elements, and he put them into one element. He just added he got a proton, neutron surrounded by a nucleus with electron, and all he did for I forgot hydrogen and then lithium, he just put at two protons, two neutrons, two electrons. Then he just moved his way up, which he blew Einstein away. I'm saying it's a mathematical equation that's mind blowing the way he did it. But when it comes to the order of existence, see, there is an order that applies to all things. This order is called the order of existence. It was issued by the creator of all things, Ra Never Teshira, to ensure the continuous perpetual evolutions of all things. So when I speak to you of the New Age order of the great golden age of Ptah Asar and the New Age order of the star gospel of the self-creation of Ra Never Teshira, it is of this order that I speak. The first law of existence. There are two laws you must understand. The first law of existence is that energy must be spent. The first law of energy is to always exist and expand. And once you're able to applicate these laws, then mathematical equation falls right in line with the concept of self-creation. Because that's what they stole from us. They stole the concept of self-creation from us when they stole our time. So until everybody, every Egyptologist, every anthropologist, every theologian understands the concept of self-creation, they just don't speak about it, because if they speak about it, they have to return the planet to us. If they tell us about, they taught you about the rotation of the earth and the revolution around the sun, and that the earth's tilted on 23.5 degrees, but they never mentioned the phenomenon of precession. You never hear about that in school. They don't talk about it today, because if they talk about it today, they have to talk about our African spirituality of our story and our contribution and how each and every megalithic architectural monument on the planet is orientated to this. And then you can begin to use a mathematical equation to count your way back to the beginning of the origins of existence. But you cannot do this with the Gregorian chronological timeline. It only goes back from 2020, which actually is AUC. If you put AUC, because in 754 AUC, they call it AUC, and that means upon the founding of the city of Rome. But Rome doesn't exist until 600 years later. So how does Rome even got its name up here? So what Julius Caesar did, when we got to Julius Caesar, 46 BC, he wiped out that 750 years right off the map, just to keep you so you could never find out your way back. And so if we say what time it is now using AUC, it's not 2020, it's 2027.54. If you're using a Gregorian chronological timeline, but we don't even have to worry about any of that. I'm telling you, because we are now in an auspicious, favorable position on the galactic plane of our quadrant Milky Way galaxy, where we just completed a 26,000 year cycle. We're at year number 10. This is year number 10, AFNK/ST, which means the sun precesses 1 degree every 72 years. So we're 10 years into this new great golden age of Ptah Asar, which you call Aquarius. And so that's 64 years remaining, 62 years remaining until the sun reaches precesses 1 degree. And it happens to be my watch, Seba. And I have mothers crying. I got babies dying, and I got stars aligning. We're on the brink of extinction. I got the Kemetic community that I've been ostracized. You're talking to a man who's been kicked out of the Kemetic community. They will not talk to me because I tell them there's 9 days in a week. They don't believe that there's 9 days in a week. And everybody knows this. So why is the Kemetic community selling us a calendar of 10 days in a week with 30 days in a month, knowing it's a lunar cycle calendar and knowing you can only grow crops with it? You cannot connect to the cosmic, invisible, and biblical cord. You cannot connect to the 26,000 year cycle of the phenomenon of precession, which connects you to that black hole, Milky Way galaxy, which is moving with the universe. And so what's really going on here? So I really do love being in your company. I am honored to be on your platform. And I just don't understand why we have so much divided loyalty, because they're making more money off of selling us than they're making money off us retaining our spirituality. We're all divided. We can no longer afford to be divided and undecided. We must become united in the Abakaku, the spirit of the Samatawi, under one Epederoo, Shabit Dem Tuaru Pamaat, one ancient solar sidereal lunar calendar in a meteorological star timeline, and under the concept of self-creation. I'm telling you, nobody even talks about the concept of self-creation. I ask the Kemetic community always, who do you believe in? They don't even know. They don't even know. They talk that spookism. That's why Brother Reggie came on the show, and he's up to his neck with what they talk about. They're all selling fraudulent information, because if you're not talking about Never Teshera, if the Queen Mother can show you the Scream Stella of Jehuti Mess, I can show you in Medunetta, read both registers on the line, reading from right to left to the second register, because the first register starts off with time. First register, it starts off with time, just like me and the Queen Mother. When we came on the show, first thing we had to do, we had to perform our Ptah Asar code affirmation and tell you where the star subject is. This is what our ancestors tell you. You cannot just come up on the stage and say, I asked the answer. I pour some water in a vial, in a vase, on a plant, and say, Ashe, Ashe, Namaste, Namaste. I asked the ancestors, which ain't even Medunetta, first of all, some corrupted Indian dialect. And then they I asked the ancestors for permission to speak. And then they start to talk. Now, I haven't heard one ancestor say anything, unless you're considering those in the audience to be present day ancestors. But so that form of communicating to the ancestors was good in the 50s, in the 60s, when we didn't know nothing. It was good back in the 70s when we learned the Muslim. We learned how to be Islamists because everybody was locked up in jail. The only information you're going to get in the slammer is Islam. So the Islam information was very good in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. And it might have made it to the 90s and the 2000s. But this is a whole new age order of the great golden age of Ptah Asar. We have to alter, change, rearrange, and adjust to the Netaroos. Because actually, the sun has just made a complete revolution around the 26,000 year cycle. Now it's beginning a new cycle around the phenomenon of precession. And as it does, the sun has to pass through the cosmic rift. Please Google cosmic rift. And as the sun moves through this, the cosmic rift is a void in the Milky Way galaxy of that arm of the Orion's finger that we're in the quadrant of, that you see at night. That's void of light. And when the sun goes through this patch, it drags 9 planets with it. So the sun becomes encapsulated into a gaseous bubble just to penetrate this void, this gap, this void of light. And surface of the sun becomes removed from viscous matter, which creates these CMEs, coronal mass ejections, which are going to be earth directed, which are going to start to escalate global climate control, and environmental relapse. So whether you get these people, our family gets the information or not, I'm not here for everybody. I'm here for the Shemsu, those who are the children of Heru, because the nature or the elements are about to set forth. There's so many hurricanes passing by. They're into the Greek alphabet right now. It's never happened before. The hurricanes will now be super hurricanes. They're going to go up to 500 miles per hour. They got to re-register the whole Richter. Earthquakes will no longer be 7.88 point. They're going to be 16 point. That means skyscrapers are going to topple. The earth is going to split open. It's going to be flash floods to tsunamis, and then they got a new one for you. It's called mudslides. They're called mud flashes. A mud flash, you know, you got a tsunami that's 50 feet high. They got walls of mud that are liquefied, that are going to sweep across the whole country, and they bury city. These are called protocol extinction protocols, because we went through them all. They've been digging down in the ground through sediments of mud, then through ash, that means the volcano, then through the water, that's the tsunami, and as they dig down, they find a city. So kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall. And now we're eating this food. There's no guarantee to people listening today that everybody's going to make it to tomorrow. There's no guarantee that coronavirus is not going to get you. If we're following these habits and bad habits, there's just so much working against us. It's called divided loyalty. So we must find out what the Medunetta is really saying. And once we can come to a unified consensus, but I can't even get the Kemetic people to understand the number 9. I told them 9 days in a week. The whole brain froze up. 9 days in a week. Everybody knows this. Every white person on the planet, every theologian, every ecclesiastic person knows there's 9 days in a week. And all you got to do is go back to calendar reform. You know, Julius Caesar did. He put himself on the map. You know, Sunday is the day of the sun. Monday is the day of the moon. That's African. But Tuesday is Twi. And Twi in Spanish is Martes. So that becomes Mars. And then Twi, and then comes Mercules. Mercules is Wednesday. Mercules is Mercury, but Mercules is really from Norwegian, from the Vikings, we're Woden. Wednesday is Woden. Woden is Odin. And Odin is Wednesday, and Odin has a son named Thor, who's Thursday. Now we come back from Thursday, we come back to Rome, to Frigga. Frigga is the Roman goddess of conjunctional merriment. And she has a good guy. Her husband is Bacchus, the guy with the fruit. He got the fruit with the 2 fruits. And when they go to orgy, the fortification, you know, the eagle flies on Friday. The freaks come out on Friday. Friday, they spend the dough. That's Frigga. And of course, Frigga and Friday is Uranus. Uranus is Venus. Webers is Thursday. Webers is Jupiter. And then Saturday is Saturn. So you see where the days of the week are coming from. It has no essence to our existence. It perpetuates us, gives us nothing. And now we're looking for some blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus coming out the sky that's going to save us, or some Islamic fanatical God who's going to give us paradise if I put a bomb on my back. There's just so much madness going on, and if we don't begin to understand how to tell time, the first thing you must understand how to stand time, and then you understand the light has a mirrored reflection, which is radiation, which is subatomic. So you know you're subatomic and atomic. You're just breaking down principles and laws in which our ancestors left out there in mute testimony in the Medunetta. I would like for you to come to the to the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists at 300 Walnut Ave in Roxbury, to the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta. I am the chief mortuary architect of the museum. At the museum, I reconstructed the only Egyptian reconstructed tomb in America. It's located in Roxbury. It's the Royal Burial Chamber tomb room of Nesubiti Espalta. I would love for you to come there and to see the room and broadcast it live on your show, and let us break down the dynamics and the operations of it. Because it's actually a calendar inside the tomb room. It has 10 niches around the wall. It has 9 niches around the wall. And then there's one giant niche is the entrance. So there's 9 days, 10 months. It tells you it's our ancestors duplicated everything in geometry, in mathematics, in science, and in our cultural cosmic collective. And the stories written in Medunetta on the walls. And they're going to tell you that you can't read and write Medunetta. They're reading and writing Medunetta every day. But I can't read it. My ancestors wrote it, but I can't read it. It doesn't make sense. They got us living in confusion. They got us battling each other. It's called Hirihara, divided loyalties. So I'm here really to reconcile with the Kemetic community, because I sell more calendars. I sell more calendars to the Ku Klux Klan than I sell to my African people. I sell more calendars to the Chinese. They're trying to get me to they're trying to make me make a concession so that they can get properties. I ain't giving. I will take this to my deathbed, broke, busted, disgusted, before I give this up for anything but my Shemsurus. We have a mathematical equation. They can't figure out how I did it. It took me 50. I've been in the temple. And they're telling me they ostracize me. The whole Kemetic community. Not one Kemetic teacher has bought a calendar.
Wow.
But I doesn't mind me, because I'm going to bring the mathematical equation to the people, to the Ramech. They don't think the Ramech can count to 30. They don't think they know the difference between a lunar cycle calendar and a solar signal lunar. They don't think we're that smart or something. But I'm going to produce it me and the Queen Mother have a show twice a week, and we pump this information. And it's a gathering, it's a mobilization. It's only for those who have an eye to see, an ear to hear, and an understanding heart, because it's a frequency. It's a first frequency specifically. And there's 8 billion.
That is the key. Frequency.
Yes, there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to save all these niggas. I ain't bringing one nigga with me. I'm the biggest racist in the world. I can't stand a nigga. I love my Nagas. All they did was the etymology was switch the vowels and called you a nigga. If you look in the dictionary, there's no such thing as a nigga. A nigga never existed. He don't exist. It's a person without a heritage, without a culture. You have nothing. All they did was take the word Naga and change the vowels and etymologically fed it back to you in an unholy manner. There's no such thing as a nigga, but a man who does not know who I am, where I come from, why I am here, and where am I going. You're a threat. So if I bring a Christian with me, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna turn me in. FBI is gonna be knocking on my door with the hit squad. Yeah, the Navy SEALs running up on me. Matter of fact, I'm looking out the window right. I'm trying to see if there's a red beam on me already. But I'm just saying, realistically speaking, Steve, there's mothers crying, babies dying, they're kidnapping our babies every day, and nobody knows how to tell time. The divine, the quintessential essence in which we established this whole planet. And we're stuck on somebody else's time. And then the Kemetic people are going to tell me that this is the year 6,700 Samatawee, which is the most retarded, dysfunctional mathematical equation I ever heard of, because you're using simply, I'm not falling out of digressing or anything. I just am a military priest here. I'm a military, I go OG, NG, and priestly, no matter which way you want to take this. But you're using a Gregorian chronological timeline of 2020 to count backwards, to find your origins, which is madness. If you're going to use your color.
I agree with you.
But why? So why do they fight me? Why can't they understand? Everybody knows that Julius Caesar took a day off and made it 8 days in a week, and from 10 months to 11. And they know that Caesar, and they know that Augusta made this one, put himself on the calendar. So we went from 8 days to 7 days. So if you have a 7-day week calendar, or an 8-day week calendar, or a 10-day week calendar, there's 30 days in a month. But once you use the number 9, is the mother equation. Like Dr. Gabriel Yibo has his mother equation that applies to all mathematics and science. This mathematical equation of 9 days a week gives us 36 days in a month. And we know there's 36 deacons. They know there's 36 deacons. So if you can't get the 36 deacons, but the 10-month lunar cycle calendar is 3 seasons. Each season has 4 months. Each month has 30 days. 120, 120, 120 is 360. I'm not saying that calendar that they speak of is right here, but you cannot find immortality if the moon is the principal inspiration. We must include the rest of our story, which is solar and sidereal. Why do they fight me over the solar and sidereal when that's going to give us immortality? Like you think today's your birthday. Today, if you thought today was your birthday, it's not your birthday. They stole your birthday at your birth, because it's a perpetual calendar. So if January the 1st, 2020, hypothetically speaking, was a Monday, 2021 is a Tuesday. 2022 is a Wednesday. 2023 is a Thursday. And 2024 is Saturday because they got a leap year, so they jump a day. So if you count this up 7 years from now, when your star comes on your birthday, the star is not there because the day has perpetuated. It left the star behind. So they got you celebrating your birthday when it's not your birthday because they know your star that was there on your birthday's not there. It can't be your birthday. Just very simple things. So I have a student, his name is Ramutep Kweb. Ramutep Kweb, he has devised a system through the Epederoo Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat, and he can find what day you was born and the year you was born. Then he finds out where you're located at on your birth, and he can recalibrate the celestial movements to the spring equinox, to the day and hour you was born at that location, and he tells you where he ride nights you to the star of your birth and the star of your transition. When you're when you're born with that birth certificate, you are a prisoner of war of the Corporation of the United States of America. You're a prisoner of maritime law, and that birth certificate proves it. And that birth certificate is used as commodity, and they put you up on the stock market. So you're already a slave from birth. Then they steal your star of your birth. So there's so much going on here that needs to be talked about. And the way we remember and acquire our divinity is by first finding true time, cosmic time, and that's my duty. And that's why I'm here. And I am taking no prisoners because I ain't taking no only converts. Because you take prisoners, you got to feed them. I'm not feeding these people.
Brother Ptah, I can't express to you what a glorious day this has been. I've enjoyed every moment of it. I am going to get to the shrine and coming up to see you. I ordered the new camera.
Do I? I got your calendar in. Your calendar's already in the mail.
So when the camera comes, I'll start making my way up there.
Absolutely.
I'm going to
get your nap. Let me let you get off the show. Let you get your nap. I got to take a nap too. Us old people have to take naps. I'm taking my nap with you. I'm going to lay in my bed and taking a nap.
I get up like 4 a.m. So
yes, Stephen, I understand.
All right. It's been wonderful. I thank you, and I thank Sister Queen Mother.
Asma Tefnut.
Is she still with us?
Yes, she's still. No, she might not. She's there. She's still there. Yes. Dua.
Sister, has been marvelous working with you.
Yes.
You're on. I'll say you're on the dot because you didn't miss not one beat.
You don't miss a beat. She's there. She keeps the masculine. She keeps that masculine energy in check.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure.
I would like to share some information about the purchase of the calendar. I see a lot of questions in the comment. Although the information has been shared in the comment section, some people are speaking about, for example, if they don't have Facebook, how to get a calendar. So
no, go ahead.
This
is
information.
Yours.
Getting your calendar. You can purchase it online. The calendars are mailed to you, so there aren't any downloads of the calendar. You can receive the calendar at ptahoriginals.com. You can purchase your calendar on PayPal. You can purchase your calendar on Etsy at the Time and Immortality shop. And we also accept Cash App. And also, along with your calendar, you will receive, first, when you go on Etsy, this is the website, the Time and Immortality website. So this is what it looks like when you get there. You'll see a photo on your left, on your right of me, along with my Siba Ptah Asar. And with your calendar, you will receive the free PDF of the Cosmic Egg, also an audio of it. We have CDs, but we have converted
MP3.
to MP3s, and your calendar will also be autographed. So here is the calendar along with the CD, which again, we're moving to MP3. And you can also contact Siba Ptah Secret Song on Facebook. His Facebook name is Ptah Asar. And or you can contact me on Facebook at Asma Atefnut. And on the Facebook and my YouTube channels, we have classes set up that teach you how to use your calendar. And so you can go there and view the videos, and it tells you like what the days of the days are and what the months are. And it also teaches you the legend of the calendar as well, which Siba Ptah Secret Sar has shared a few times. And so this legend that you see here, without flipping through the pages of the calendar, if you already cannot tell time just by looking at this legend here, with classes that Siba Ptah Secret Sar offers, one day you will be able to just look at this legend that you see here and know what day it is. Dua,
Supreme Mother Goddess. Panata Pupamaat, Okwesta Jet, Uncle Jasaneb, Ubanapikia Panaburu Matir. I would like to say to close this divine presentation through the transatlantic production with Clemson Brown, who I am honored to be on your platform. I like to say in the words of our paternal father, Asa Unepa Kentiamenti, that within the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. Dua, dua, dua.
Dua, dua. Thank you, everybody.